I sat down with 5 of the world's best mid lane coaches to get some of their hot takes. So be prepared to be rage-baited and educated. Let's get into the episode. All right, we're going to be kicking it off with Coach Tim. Mysterious here, long-term MLA coach. You're also a YouTube content creator, Timmy. You've been around the block a few times, worked in the Mid Lane Academy for a few years. So what's your first take here, Tim?
Yeah, so I'm going to go guns blazing. All right. I'm going to give a little bit of context. I have been, over the past 4 weeks, trying to climb in SoloQ again. And it's been going well since the reset. And it's going a little bit too well, in my opinion. And I want to talk about matchmaking, Autofill, and Aegis of Valor. And especially how we mid laners, because this is the mid lane roundtable, are finally showcasing that we're the best role in the entire game. Because of the fact that we abuse Autofill the best out of anyone, because we are simply the best overall players, so we can play any role the best. We also get Autofill the most, so we benefit from Aegis of Valor the most. And the matchmaking is therefore also really beneficial to us, because if we get put versus an AD carry player that's trying jungle for the first time, but we understand how jungle works, it's just free LP. The amount of plus 62 LPs I've been getting over the past 3 weeks, it's been insanity. So what do you guys think of that? I think mid lane is completely OP right now, not because of the role, but rather because of the matchmaking and the systems.
So 16, I know that you've been a bit vocal about this as well. So what's your take on this, 16?
I mean, I think mid lane is also a very strong role right now. Like with the added AP buff from like a few patches ago, I think it's a really strong role. But for sure, I agree with Tim. Like the amount of fill I'm getting right now in high elo is actually crazy. Like I streamed yesterday for like 7 hours, and I believe half of my games I were either Aegis of Valor or autofill. And that's not a weird thing. Like I get it every time.
Yeah, me too.
Usually when you play top lane, you can either play a mage top lane or just like a random pocket pick. And you're facing like little Timmy on Velko's top lane, you know? So like it's really easy to win the games.
So why?
The only kind of tricky role is like support.
But my question would be, what makes mid laners better at other roles though, Tim? Because you said that like obviously we're getting filled, but like what is the skill? What skills does a mid laner specifically have that makes us good at other roles, you think?
Yeah, that's a great question. So first of all, we learn like laning to the core in mid lane. We learn training patterns. We learn how to abuse the minion waves. But we also need to be extremely intentional about playing with jungle and jungle tracking. So we have a basic idea of what jungle's timers are, when they want to play the game, and if they can invade and how to defend jungle. If you are playing, for example, AD carry, the only way that you think about jungle is when they're going to be on my lane and ganking me. They're not really playing with jungle or invading with jungle all that much. So actually, funny story. Yesterday, I played versus an AD carry main. I was out the field on jungle. I've played the jungle role secondary for like 4 or 5 years. And so I can play jungle. But then you put me up against this AD carry main who's not touched jungle in like 4 years straight. And he's playing his first time champion. He's going to get completely blasted. And it's not even a fun game. Right? So
yeah, it's not even close. It's not even fair.
I think as well, if you're in the middle of the map, you have to know like everything. You have to know about top. You have to know about bot. Whereas if you're a top laner, you're less likely to know about other roles since you're so isolated.
Yeah, so basically the reason your take's a bit of a hot take, Tim, is what you're saying is that a lot of at the moment there's a lot of mid laners that are high rank, right? In Challenger, right? So the percentage of basically the top 50 players, for example, is overwhelmingly mid laners. This is not only because mid lane is in a pretty good position. It's actually also because of the fact that mid laners are getting quote unquote elo inflated because they're getting the double LP and they're not losing LP in the games that they're getting secondary role. Is that kind of like to summarize your point there as well?
Yes, and because we are simply the best role out of all roles.
Right.
So what makes the mid lane supremacy here?
But what makes mid so strong at the moment though, do you think? Like comparatively to previous splits?
Yeah, look, I actually think that mid got a bit of a nerve at the start of the season. That was the feeling that I got. I think at the end of last season, mid was as its all-time strongest as it's been, because we could like match top laners in strength, beat them in the side lane in a lot of matchups. And the start of the season, top lane got a lot of experience investment, and that became a little bit harder. But then we started abusing the quest that we got with the tempo, and we were actually dragging people to side using the quick reset. So I think that was really, really OP. But then they changed that for the AP, and I think the initial part of the AP wasn't actually that strong. I think now the second part, I think they've hit a nice sweet spot with the 8% that we get. But I don't think mid lane right now is like exceptionally strong in regards to the overall game state. Because if you look at what they did to a lot of mid laners over the past few months, is they've been perma-nerfing mid lane champions. And only since like last patch or two, they've started like really buffing them back up. Like, for example, the Syndra, and I'm going to be honest, he's out of control right now. But I think the overall mid lane strength isn't like extremely overpowered. I think that every role has its input.
Does anyone else have any other comments on Tim's take here before we move on?
I mean, I would like to add, I think there's a few reasons why mid laners are really good at every role. Because like historically, mid lane has been the most popular role. So we always get filled more, you know? So like, I think every single mid laner has had the trouble of like, what secondary role do I queue? So we all try each role because we're not trying to get filled. And then you get pretty good at every single role. Meanwhile, like ADC will always queue mid-secondary. Junglers will always queue mid-secondary. So they only are like decent at mid lane. And I think another thing is, if you look at the champ pool from every single role, like ADCs are only marksmen, right? Top laners are mainly fighters, except like Vayne right now. But mid laners, you have to play like Tristana, historically, Syndra, Zed, Akali, whatever, you know? So like you can really pick up a champion easier because you got more practice on it.
Yeah, it's interesting actually because the only other role that would be close to playing different archetypes would actually be jungle, right? Because jungle you can play, there's a lot of like melees and then you have range, you have carries and facilitators, but the only difference is that junglers can't fucking lane, right? Junglers have no clue about how to lane, right? so they're not even in the conversation.
It's the easiest to tell when a jungler's off roll.
Yeah,
you
it's
can tell in
easiest
like
to
3
tell.
seconds.
Straight up. Right. And yeah, I mean, there's no junglers here, so we can flame junglers as much as we want during this episode. All right, so we're going to move on to AJ. Also a long-term coach in the Mid Lane Academy, long-term challenger player, Yone God, assassin God. So what is your first hot take today, AJ?
Yeah, this has been a pet peeve of mine that's been going on recently because I like to kind of during my free time check what the more, I guess, general league community feels about the game, right? Just to keep myself updated so I'm not this out of touch coach. The number one thing I see is people are talking about how do I counter this champion? Oh, my champ sucks into this matchup, right? And I think that is complete cope. Like, I think just get better at your fucking champion, you know? Like, unironically. Like, counter picks literally don't matter. Like, I played only Yone and Ahri to, like, high challenger, right? And those champs are some of the most counter pick, like, especially Yone. It can be counter picked in so many ways. So I think my take is just, like, stop thinking about, like, champions and items and all this none of that shit matters, right? Just get better at your champion, get better at your laning, your fundamentals, and just stop like coping about like I can't play this champion into this matchup or in this.
Yeah, it's a bit of a controversial one, right? Obviously, champion pools and draft and items and all this stuff is occupies such a large part of people's mental stack, in their SoloQ journey. So I guess any immediate thoughts, guys, about why, I guess, do we agree with this take? Do we think that you do need a champion pool and counter picks are important, or do you guys tend to agree with AJ here?
I think a lot of people don't realize I don't think a lot of people realize the value of champ mastery enough. Like, especially if you play harder champions, like for example, Yone, Yasuo, Irelia, people don't realize the extent to which you can take these champions and actually make them work in those hard games. And investing more games into a champion like Yasuo, Yone, Irelia, especially, is actually more valuable than having the perfect champion for that game, in my experience.
Well, Sixten, we had a bit of a discussion about this yesterday, right? Where I think, because I agree. I totally agree with you, AJ, here, but to push back and play devil's advocate a little bit, I feel as though both Sixten and you, AJ, are a little biased in the sense that, like, you guys made that climb with a very, very small pool because you played very skill-expressive assassins. You Sixten did it through the Echo lens, and you did it through the Yone lens for the most part, right? So these are champions that they have more options or maneuverability in a game when you have a lot of mastery. So like, I think that so a lot of people listen to this. Obviously, if they play a lot of these kind of skill expressive assassins, then especially in the mid game, they have a lot more options. They're probably more incentivized to want to push their limits of champion mastery and potentially go down that rabbit hole. But let's say there's someone listening who's like an OTP Orianna. It might not be as intuitive to them to try and solve those puzzles throughout a tricky game than it would be, let's say, with a Yone or an Akali or something. What do you guys think? And again, I'm not discrediting your point. I'm just trying to push back on that. What do you think?
I think I'm gonna.
The
ping.
Okay, so I'll take it. I actually think for those Orianna players, it's even more beneficial focusing on the champion mastery aspect rather than it is actually for the Yone or Aredia players. I'm going to quote myself from what I did like 3 years ago. 3 years ago, I went on this journey with Syndra. And I played the hardest possible Syndra games. I blew Wonder every single game. And what happened is that I got counterpicked in every single game. I got draft countered by like the Jarvans jumping onto me. But what happened is that, yes, I lost some games in the short term. In the long term, my threat assessment, my matchup understanding got to the point that if I got put into easier games, I would just win them automatically because it was almost unlosable. And I basically adapted towards the toughness of the draft by changing my threat assessment, and it made me a much better player. So I do think that what AJ said in regards to champion mastery is actually the core of you being able to play out the game properly.
Yeah, I would agree. Sorry, there you go.
So what I want to add is that, like, I want you to imagine, like, take this thought experiment, right? Imagine, like, a control mage player's default response is, oh, I was in a hard game. I guess I should have played a different champ. Think about what that does to their growth and their curiosity and their learning, right? That's my argument. It's like they're coping that the law, like, sure, maybe it's not as intuitive, right? But I feel like if you are going to climb in such a difficult game, if you're not in this, like, truth-seeking mindset, regardless of the champion you're playing, you're just shooting yourself in the foot, right? It's like no matter how, like, because even if I just take an example from NA, there's a Garen OTP who's challenger, right? Palco. And he's like way better than any other Garen I've seen. And I would say Garen doesn't have like a ton of skill expression, right? I'm sure we can all agree have skill expression. But I just think that, like, even like just because it's unintuitive doesn't mean it's something you shouldn't look for, you know, and shouldn't like level up. You know?
I would even say that.
I think champ mastery is like the key thing, right? I think a lot of lower elo players are not really willing to commit the time picking up a champ, and then it's like a lot more dopamine of trying to figure out the optimal build or the optimal champ for this draft, because that's like a very easy thing to pick up,
like,
you know,
hanging fruit.
Yeah, it's not a skill issue, just knowing the right thing to press before the game starts.
Alan, what were you going to say?
Yeah, even I think, like, I climbed as a Kassadin OTP, which is historically one of the most counter champions. And even Kassadin, like, will have very bad lane matchups. But if you know how to minimize them well, you will have times in the game when you will be strong. And I think that's the counter pick argument, is that most champions will have parts of their gameplay where they will have openings in every single game. And people just, like, focus on either one interaction of a matchup or just the isolated 1v1 so much, I think, where because of that, they lose curiosity about the other options they have. And that's, I think, very cool.
Yeah, that's a really good point, I think. So, yeah, I think one of the reasons why this manifests in the League community is because trying to problem solve your way out of a hard game, is just fundamentally so much harder than it is being like, if only I was playing X champion this game, I would have been able to easily solve all these problems, right? If only I was playing, you know, Lissandra, I could have won this game easily, right? And they don't realize that that's not really the way the game works. Because if you played Lissandra, maybe the game would have played out differently. It's always like hindsight bias, right? It's just an easy to pick solution. I would say though, like, I think there is an element here where I think we got to be very careful as coaches, because we're always obsessed with like optimizing for climb, right? What's going to get you the most results? What's going to get you the most LP? And this is where, like, it ties into that whole conversation of like, maybe, you know, Jim Bob in NA doesn't want to sit there through 80 games or 90 or 100 games taking their Akali or their LeBlanc to the next level. They actually just want to get it to an okay level where they can win the okay games, but they're not even really going to bother playing the hard games of LeBlanc. They would rather play Ari in those games or Hui or whatever, right? whereby just from a fun and satisfaction element, they're going to get more out of that experience. And because they're getting more fun of the experience, having more fun and satisfaction in those games with Hui or whatever, in a way, they're actually kind of net learning more because it's like that other champion is kind of a catalyst to generate more.
There's more curiosity,
and more fun. So like, I this is where like I'm all for you. I totally agree, AJ. Like I totally agree. But this is where I feel like it's a trick. It's a very slippery slope. You know what I mean?
I will say I've had a lot of experience with this because there was a time in my life where Sixten and I, we would review a lot. We would play like a very wide variety of champions. Sometimes I'd be playing like 4 or 5 different champions every 2 weeks to keep up with the patches and review a lot of Chovy. And I kept myself way lower LP just, because with those pools, I would be focused on picking like the optimal champion out of a very diverse, optimized pool. And it kept me way lower LP. And every time that I've climbed to my peak, my highest rating, which is always way higher than kind of that baseline, has been OTPing a champion or really developing. Ironically, the highest I've ever been was as an Orianna OTP. I was playing predominantly Orianna, which you would think is not necessarily the most.
Well, I think for all of us, right? For every single one of us, if we would think about when we've got like the most LP, it's nearly always been we've kind of specialized our attention on maybe like 1 or 2 champions, right? Like we really, really, really dialed in and we know how to win hard games on those champions. I mean, there's actually fundamentally no other way to become a high level challenger player, I think. Like if you don't know how to win hard games with your champion, I don't really think you can call yourself a challenger. I don't think you really are a challenger player, right? Like, would you guys agree with that?
Oh, that's a hard one because it depends on so many situations, right? I think that, of course, there's arguments where if you can't win the hard games, then you probably won't even get challenger. So
exactly. That's what I mean. And I think it's literally impossible. You won't reach the challenger rank. Like I think all of us, if we think about when we got to challenger, it's like you're winning games that the average grandmaster player just wouldn't win. They wouldn't either have the mental capacity or the knowledge to be able to kind of eke out a win in that tough mid game or that tough lane or whatever.
Yeah, I totally agree with you because even right now, I play like a bunch of champs, but right now my best champ is Ari by a lot. Like I just made an episode with Nathan. I think out of my last 33 Ari games, I won 28 of the last 33 games, right? So it's like, even at my level of play, right? I came from a very difficult champion. I've champ pool cycled like 20, 30 different champs. I've been playing the games in season 1. Even still, and I'm a high challenger player, most of my LP is coming from only 2 or 3 champions.
It's crazy when that's going to explode people's brains.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Curtis, I think I'm going to disagree a bit with you, like that you have to win the very hard games to get challenger. Like what I see, I think there's a lot of great grandmaster and even some master OTPs that use like complete discipline. Like they're able to carry those hard games with 20 kills on Katarina, but they simply don't not understand when to play aggressive and when not to. So either they're all go or nothing at all. And I think that's what separates a lot of challenger players to other people, and especially when you climb higher to challenger. I don't think it's particularly the individual skill. I think it's a lot more just has to do with your patience and discipline in that game.
So you
can see it a lot. Sorry, go.
No, I was going to say, so you're saying that they can win the hard games, but they actually, it's like the easier games that they make hard through lack of discipline.
I think there's, so basically when I see an OTP, I kind of know all the high elo OTPs now. And if they're not like a high challenger OTP, I know I can just be patient in the game and they're going to eventually fuck up. I'm going to get shutdowns and then come back in the game. And then the game is not even going to be hard anymore because they threw so many times, But like a great player, take like Natty Nat, when he gets the lead, it's over. Like we're not going to kill him, And that's what the rough part. Not his mechanic, just his discipline.
Yeah, so I want to take this before we go on to the next hot take because I think it's an interesting topic. Do you guys feel like the game has evolved in a way where like people have kind of taken champion mastery to the next level? Because I feel as though just the way you guys are all talking about the game, you guys are all nodding, agreeing about like, the OTPs now are kind of on another level. It feels like the way you're talking about the game is that like people have found another gear. People have found like another layer to the game that is only accessible to people that are only willing to take champion mastery to like the nth degree. Is this something that has cropped up recently, or do you feel as though it's kind of always been there, but not to the same degree, or am I just completely out to lunch?
It's especially, I think, the last 3 years where it's been, in my experience, where it's been like insane to verse some OTPs. We got a few in EU. I think we got some Kata OTPs as well that are like just so hard to beat due to the fact that they've maximized each matchup. So they've played it like thousands and thousands of times. And even if you play a good matchup, they know exactly what angles they have. And you make one small mess up or they get like a kill on bot. The game just feels really, really hard. So yeah, OTPs are insane at the moment. Yeah.
I also think they've gotten better because like the way I see it is, at least for me personally, like if I play against Aiden Yasuo, right? One of the best Yasuos I've ever played against. That makes me want to push my Yone higher. So I think it's kind of this cycle where like when you get to high challenger and you're playing against the same OTPs over and over again, you like get inspired by how they're playing and that pushes you to the next level. And then you beat them, you one up them, and they're like, they get inspired and they go to the next level. And so I think we're kind of getting to this cycle where it's just OTPs have become so good at like just everything because they kind of have to beat the other OTPs who are getting better and better and better.
It's like a self-fulfilling, it's like a self-fulfilling prophecy. Yeah, everyone's leveling up everyone else, and as they're pushing their limits on their champion, that's forcing you to reach another limit on your champion.
Because when you're at that skill, you're getting excited. Like I get excited when Aiden, like there was this play where Aiden Yasuo, he stacked his Q3 as Yasuo in Fog of War, and he Q3 over a wall, and then took the blast plant and like autoed me, and then R'd, and I got one shot at as R, he broke even R. And so I think most people will be like, wow, that's like bullshit. But because I have so much mastery on like Yone, and I'm thinking like, oh, how can I do that as Yone? Like, how can I be creative with the blast plan and Q3 as Yone? I got really excited when he did that to me. Like, you kind of get this mindset shift as you get better. It's like, you really start to take inspiration from all the creativity that all these other players have, because you like kind of have this innate respect for the game. It's like, well, I worked my ass off to get this good at Yone. If this dude worked his ass off to get this good on Yasuo, I got like so many things I can like learn and pick apart from his gameplay.
Totally.
What I think is interesting, we got 2 OTPs in here. We got 610 and Aledos. What do you guys think?
I mean, I wouldn't consider myself an OTP, you know. Kind of I was a pro player for 6 years, but I mean, but sure, I'll take it. My peak in SoloQ, bring about Orianna point before, was actually an Orianna. So basically, before every off season, it was very important to get high elo as a pro player, and then I would always just spam one champion. And then Orianna is just like a very optimal champion.
I don't know if that beats the OTP allegations too much, but.
Too far in the past. No, but I would say, like for EU specifically, I think it comes down to one man. Like, you know how like Faker and Chovy have changed pro play, how they adapt? I think for SoloQ, Phantasm changed pro play. Because that guy came out of nowhere. He had like 72% win rate to rank 1, completely destroying everybody. I think before Phantasm arrived to the scene, I think a lot of OTPs was just mechanic maxing. But then you see Phantasm play, and he's just like super good on the champion, obviously, insane game knowledge. But the main thing is he doesn't die, and he waits and he's patient and he cleans up. And I think you can see it like translating to a lot of different OTPs. Like me, the only thing I'm working on really is discipline. And you look at someone like Brohan, the Yasuo OTP. That guy has historically always been like maximum top 100, but this season he's playing super disciplined, super calculated, and he's ranked 2 right now. So I think it's translating through like the ranks.
Do you think a lot of like lower elo OTPs can relate to that issue of needing more discipline? Because I feel like if I'm thinking of maybe like a D4 OTP of Yasuo, let's say, maybe they struggle with discipline, but also they might also struggle with like I think discipline is only an issue that you have when you understand the game at such a high level and when you have a lot of other skills in the game, right? Because discipline is about doing less, saying no to plays. But you can also, maybe if you're a D4 player, you play a really hard champion, you might not know your limits. You might need to limit test. You might need to send it a little bit. You might not know what objectives to take or, you know, what fights to take. So I think discipline is a bit of like actually a very high level issue. What do you think?
I think it starts with intention. And I think I'm so passionate about this because I was a diamond Yasuo OTP for like 7 years. So I went through that for a long time. And I remember, like, even when I climbed to Grandmaster Challenger, I literally could not tell you what I was doing. I still remember this. The first review I had with Curtis, first time I joined the MLA, I remember this vividly. The first thing I told Curtis is, I am losing my games in Grandmaster. I have no idea why I'm losing or what is going on, but it feels off. So I think for a diamond level player, you're right. They can't start with discipline yet, but where they need to start with is intention. They need to start thinking actively, like, okay, like I want to try to do this, right? I'm on this power spike. I want to try and experiment around. Because when I was in diamond, I was just like doing whatever felt good. You know, I didn't even know what the hell I was doing. I was kind of just like going around the map killing people. So I think it's hard to develop discipline before you play with some sort of idea in your mind about what you want to be doing in the game.
Aledos, did you have any thoughts on the previous topic before?
Yeah, so I think both as an OTP and as a disciplined OTP, like I think the reason lower elos will struggle with this, I think will be just for you to have patience, you need two things. You need patience itself and you need something to be patient for. And I think when it comes to lower elo, people will just not have the idea of how their champion fundamentally wins a game. And this is actually the biggest trend in my coaching in the last month as well, is that a lot of my sessions are, this is how your champion wins a game, and how do we get there? And a lot of people will just be fighting fights that don't make sense because they have no idea of what the fight that wins the game looks like. So they cannot physically be disciplined for something that they don't understand. And I think the discipline comes into the play when people actually really truly understand their champ's identity and truly understand like how their champion fundamentally wants to play. And if they have that, then you can be patient and then you can say no to fights that are not that.
Yeah, it's a really, really good point. We'll come back to that. So we're going to move on to another hot take here. We're going to move on to 610. So 610, you also have recently joined the Mid Lane Academy as a coach, long-term challenger player, ex-pro player, now kind of getting into content creation. So for people who are also interested, 610 has started his own YouTube, does streaming. Check that out. There'll be some links in the description below. What's your first take here, 610?
Roaming is almost never good. So how I think about it is, especially when I'm coaching, the lower elo they become, I see them dropping waves perma, I see them roam bad timers, I see that when they roam, even if it's a good roam, they overextend the roams. If you take my games, I roam maybe one time every 2 games, pre 10 minutes. And usually that is just like the enemy red buff. Because I really value the gold of just consistently getting farm on mid lane. I feel like one bad roam can really put you behind in the game. You're going to be useless.
Ooh,
Actually,
I disagree.
It's an interesting one.
Yeah, I really disagree. Yeah.
The 10. Why don't you start the rebuttal here?
Yeah, I actually think that some roams can, of course, a bad roam will kill your game, right? Yes, I agree with that part. But I think that there is a lot of roaming opportunities that you can take that will actually help you win the game. Now, I've played a lot of Rise over the past few weeks. So you got to keep in mind that the champion that I've played affects the way that I view the game, of course. Rise is a really good shovel mover into champ, nukes the wave in a half a second. There's a lot of time to actually roam, and has the R to also up his tempo on these roams. Now, what I see a lot is that I actually go for plays on 2 sides where either my bot lane is, let's just take an example, my bot lane is heavy trading, and I see that some action's happening. So I push out the wave and I move down. And either one of 2 things happen. Either I kill the enemy bot with my bot lane living, we shove out the bot wave, and then the enemy bot lane loses their wave, and I lose 1 wave on mid. So we do a little bit of a trade-off. Or my bot lane dies, and I kill the enemy bot, plus I take over their wave, push out their wave, and then move back into mid lane. So I actually don't lose any resources myself. So either I get my bot lane ahead, or I keep myself ahead. And if you find yourself the correct roaming opportunities like that, it's actually a really valuable thing to do. Finding them, on the other hand, is what the tricky part is. And especially if you don't know what to look for, that's when you're really going to struggle and potentially take bad roams.
I mean, to defend myself a bit, I would say I like the roams if my bot laner dies, because then I stay good.
Yes.
Like whenever my ADC or top laner dies, I'm like, yes. Now I get the kill and I get the farm, and I probably get some plates too. I tell my students this too. If my bot, let's say I move bot and I get like a kill from ADC, I drop 1 wave with 2 plates, and like they take their own wave. I think it's a bad roam. Because it's SoloQ in a pro game, sure, it will make sense. But in SoloQ, I don't think you really can trust your teammates to carry, unless you know the player, obviously. So I think it's generally just always good to like hover Like what I like to do in Echo is like I have level 7 one shot, right? So I push the wave and I hover. And then I have to ask myself, is this gonna be a good play for me? Not for the game, just for me. And if it's really good, then I keep going. But if it's like just gonna be good for my team or bad for me, I'm not gonna do it.
I think a lot of where this comes from, and 610 kind of hit the nail on the head, I think, because this is an issue that a lot of lower elo people have. And the way we're talking a lot about champ mastery, all the takes are kind of boiling down to champ mastery. But I think this comes from the fact that a lot of people don't know the baseline 10 CS per minute, what that feels like on their champion, right? So when you play, Tim, you have a very good understanding of what it feels like to just farm 10 CS per minute, not roam, stay in lane, just play that very conservative style. And this is what I see in coaching and what I recommend to a lot of people that struggle with this issue, is that if I see them taking these bad roams, a lot of the time it's because they don't understand how it feels, be 10 CS per minute, get into that game in that really consistent, strong manner. And they don't really, they don't have anything to compare the value of a roam to just staying in your lane and feeling that baseline.
Yeah, if you don't have that baseline, then you can't even have the conversation about whether or not the roam was correct or not.
I actually had a coaching session this morning with a Yasuo player that was ditching a bunch of waves. They weren't taking any opportunities to hit plates. They were over-following roams. And my recommendation was just to kind of slow it way down, get a feel for what that's like, to really just feel your champion.
But I'm kind of in between it. I kind of do agree though with 610. I think that fundamentally roaming is overrated. Like I think you could literally play Rise without roaming a single time and take good trades and get good vision and win the game in mid game.
I think it's easier to go wrong over roaming rather than under.
Yeah, my point is that like I think a lot of people have this attitude in SoloQ where it's like I have to. Like, if I don't roam and I don't impact the map, then how am I going to win, right? Like, because I'm not doing anything. Yeah, they start to panic. Exactly right.
They start to panic.
Like, people roam because it's a panic. It's a panic thing, right?
I see it all the time.
But you need to know what it feels like. Like Lucas, you're just saying there. It's like, okay, if I just farm really well, take good trades, know my matchup, constantly track the enemy jungler, I have first move to any potential play that happens in the river.
Yeah,
the game kind of just will win itself. Assuming that you have competence in the mid game. So. Yes, at the highest level, though, I'm on Tim's side, where it's like if we're starting to now push the limits of a champion, we know our matchups, we've got champion mastery, like we actually have the mental stack capacity, blah, 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 blah. Roaming is objectively, I think, a really, really important part of the game. And you need to know how to roam and what makes a high value roam, when it's worth to stay, yada, yada, yada. But it is overrated, I would say, in the league community at large. For sure.
I like to think about it from the perspective of what I call the availability mindset, where all the champions that I play in mid, I feel like my role is to be available, such that if there is a good play, I'm available to move there and I can back up my team. And I think that also does require understanding. There are other skills that go into this, like understanding what a good roam looks like, even because you can't. Sure, you have to understand your baseline, but you also need to understand the skills, identifying, the speed of the play, complementing your jungler. Some people are not even aware of where their jungler is, and they're choosing to make roams. So there are I think there are a lot of other skills that go into that as well.
I think a big part of it that we as coaches kind of have now is confidence, right? Confidence in your ability to carry the game later in the game. Because when I'm visualizing like a gold Ari, right? Because I've been doing a lot of Ari sessions, a lot of people coming to Ari. When I tell them to just scale into mid game, they like push back. They're like, "What? I can scale into mid game?" Because they don't have this underlying confidence they're going to find opportunities in the game. They're thinking, okay, if I don't take this opportunity to move now, there's not going to be another opportunity for the rest of the game, right? I'm never going to find one. Whereas, like, I think for us, especially as higher elo players, we have such confidence that, like, the opportunities are going to present themselves on a silver platter, and you just take them, right? You're just opportunities. You're like a apex predator in the wild, right? You're just waiting for a mistake to happen, and then you go in and pounce on it. But I think lower elo players haven't developed that understanding or confidence or just patience, right? Like we're going back to the patience.
I think
the ability to just wait, right, and do nothing.
As well as
the idea
that, though,
of doing nothing is very uncomfortable.
And actually, what you're saying is really spot on, because two kind of complementary issues that I see together in a lot of coaching are when people they over roam and then they have bad mid games or bad late games, and that they don't know how to win the game as a 10 CS per minute.
Compensation.
Yeah, so that's where the confidence comes from. That's where confidence and patience comes from.
That's the thing, though. A lot of problems, specifically when it comes to over roaming and panicking, it's subconscious.
Yeah.
They don't know that they're trying to compensate for the fact they have a unreliable mid game. They just feel it. Yeah, exactly right.
They just feel it.
Sorry. You go on.
Yeah. One thing I wanted to add to this is that the game systems are designed in a way to punish roaming, especially early game. So if you guys didn't know, until level 7, if you share a kill XP, you get 3% reduced total XP for it. You will have like I see people go for a roam and get less XP than a caster minion for even getting the kills, and then they drop 2 waves and then they are weak. And mid lane, we have the privilege that as the game time goes on, we get stronger than the bot laners, because we will get solo XP, we will be very, very strong. And once mid quest spikes, we are also the strongest champion in the game because the boots are OP. So the way I view it is that if we don't roam, and we don't drop waves and just play for our personal strength, then once you show up to the mid game, you're gonna be the raid boss. You're gonna be the 1v9 carry. You will be extremely, extremely OP. And that's why.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Just to kind of add on to that, right? To play devil's advocate real quick is because what people are going to push back on is, what if their top goes 5-0? What if the ADC goes 10-0? I didn't impact it, right? Because that's what we're going to say to you, Aledos. They're going to be like, well, I'm not the strongest person in the game in this game. They're top 10-0. They have a level 14 set. I have a level 9 Garen top. What do I do?
The biggest shutdown.
True. Yeah, I mean, yeah, sometimes, it will happen. But
Yeah, exactly.
At the end of the day, the way we can do it the most consistently is just playing for our own strength. And I think the idea is not that we should never roam, as you guys highlighted as well, but to choose the roam timers extremely, extremely mindfully, because it's the easiest way to get out of the game and to be weak for the rest of the game, basically.
It's so interesting how you guys view that, because I personally view it in a completely different way. So I got a question for you guys, right? What is the rank that you guys would start saying win condition assessment is important to start mastering?
I was going to say, I think playing for win cons and stuff is a bit overrated in SoloQ. I think it's a way more value and competitive. I would say, for sure, it's an important thing, but there's like 100 important things you have to do in SoloQ. So I think it's a lot better to focus on like jungle tracking, support tracking, playing your wave states good, and being there for like objective fights,
I would disagree with that personally. And that's because I would have agreed with you in the past, but after coaching, I strongly disagree, because there's so many Zed, Akali players where what's happening is they're going 5-0 in lane, but they never once pinned their camera to sides and identified like who on the enemy team is weak, who on the enemy team is strong, and like who can I like play around to either shut down the enemy champs or like get someone else fed so I can play the game. Because I think what you're kind of implying, 610, is that again you have the confidence and the ability to, like, if you were 5-0 as a Akali 610, right, you're gonna win every single game, right? You're gonna carry every single game. But I think what happens is that a lot of these players, they haven't developed that mastery on the champion, where it takes like a 500, 1,000 games of that champion to be able to win when they're the only win con, right? That just doesn't happen. I don't see it. Because most of the VODs they bring in is they're 5-0, and then they never once use their R to dive side lanes. Then the enemy sides are really strong, and they don't know how to win the game anymore. Right? I see that happen.
I don't think that's win con necessarily. I would say that's just like map tracking. Like win con, when I hear win con, I think, okay, who do I play for in my team to win? Like, who's the strongest person, But I feel like as a good Akali player, I understand push sides and move to the weak partners. I don't think that's win con necessarily.
I think what we're talking about here is just being able to understand who's fed and who's weak. Right? That's like the bedrock, right? I agree with AJ in the sense that, like, I think one of the most fundamental aspects of the game, even before jungle tracking, even before support tracking, even before all that, is actually when can I press tab and see that my bot lane is doing well and my top lane is doing poorly, or my jungler is 3-0 and my bot lane is whatever the fuck it is. Not even, you may not even know what the actual win condition is, but you're going to know that, like, okay, this guy's piss weak, this guy's really strong, so I kind of want to fight around, I want to be around that guy. I think that is, like, one of the most important, like, things, and it's things that, by the way, we do in all games intuitively. If you play any, like, team player game, there's like, okay, this guy's really good on my team and this guy's shit, so I'm going to, like, try and do things to help this guy or whatever. Like, we do that all the time. It's actually, like, a real big principle in traditional sport. It's like, we got, like, this player on my team is actually really good and this guy is kind of shit, so I'm going to, like, help facilitate that guy, right? So I think it's actually something that, is actually really, really important personally.
Do you think that's win con assessment though? Or do you think that's kind of bringing it back to your champion identity? Like let's say you're 5-0 Akali. What's your role? Your role is being in fights, right? So understanding who's strong and who's weak is going to be a piece of information you gather in order to
It's not really win con assessment. I guess it's a prerequisite to win con assessment, but
kind of like win con assessment light.
Yeah, win con assessment light. Yeah. But like, that's the thing. Like, I don't really view win con assessment as like it's not like something that you like learn overnight. Right, think about it. When we're all coaching mid laners and we talk about win con assessment, that is the culmination of a lot of things. There's a lot of things that goes into win con assessment, right? It's like they're losing their LoL states. They have the mental capacity to even press tab. They actually know what their role is. They then are able to like look at who's fed and who's weak, and like what does a 3-0 Lux do versus a 3-0 Fiora? Like there's so many and then how does that interact with the enemy strong? Like who's strong? Like there's so many layers to that, right? So like the absolute bedrock is like, I guess, pressing tab and
gathering information,
baseline,
having an intention,
having some sort of intention. Exactly right.
And you'd be surprised how many people don't do that. I think that's the key point of this. Like, it sounds obvious when you say it. It's like, yeah, like duh, press tab and see like that's my strong member. But like so many people, like even like Diamond don't do that. I'll go to a VOD. Like, I'll go back to the call example. I'm like, all right, during this also when you press tab, who's strong in your team? It takes them like 10, 15 seconds in the VOD in hindsight to be able to tell me who it is, right?
Yeah.
So imagine the game, they probably that thought never even crossed their mind a single time, right?
Totally. So Aledos, another long-term coach in the Midland Academy, been around for a while, around the block, Kassadin enthusiast, challenger player at EUS. So what's your first hot take today, Aledos?
Actually, it goes a bit back to the things that we were talking about. My first hot take is I actually want people to have the 1v9 mindset. And let me elaborate on that a bit. So we see a lot of the times that people will be trying to help their teammates. They will try to play for their win conditions and then sacrifice themselves. And they will be roaming and they will be trying to do all of this stuff. They will be trying to view the game in a way that, oh yeah, no, there is this team fight and my team really wants this dragon. Let me go there with low HP. Let me sacrifice my game plan for it. And I think this is one of the things where most champions will have their own way of 1v9ing a game, right? On Assassins, it might be, playing for the side lane and playing for pushing out, moving to numbers advantages and stuff. For mages, it might be, you're on the mid wave before the objective spawns. But at the end of the day, I really want people to view it as they have the responsibility to be strong enough to carry out their champion's way of winning the game.
Okay. Good point. One thing that I really like is that you emphasize being strong. I think that the 1v9 mindset, the way to phrase that, is probably the most dangerous thing mentioned in this podcast today for the average league player. Because the way I view this, if this is average, if this is John, okay, John is watching this podcast episode.
Shout out, Johnny.
He's thinking, shout out to John, absolutely. And he's thinking, okay, that means that 1v9, what does 1v9 actually mean? It means that your 4 teammates are playing against you, right? So that means that we're not helping them out, we're not pinging them, we're not warding and leaning, we're not defending potential dive opportunities, right? It's literally us versus the world. And there's players coming into the coaching program that actually have this mindset. And they come in this first coaching session and say, how do I 1v9 this game? And I look at this gameplay, there's 0 pings, 30 minutes, 0 pings on trying to help their team fix tempo. Yes, their bot lane dies in the mid game at minute 25 because the AD carry is pushing the inhibitor alone while the rest is in base. But he's not trying to communicate that. And that's why these games are so hard. So I think 1v9 mindset, incredibly dangerous. You do want to view it in a team specific mindset. And the mindset that I'd like to propose is the Bob the Builder mindset, okay? And the way you want to view it is you are Bob the Builder, and you've got 4 teammates, 4 tools. You got yourself the saw, that's the top lane. You got yourself the hammer, that's the AD carry. And you need these guys to win the game. You need to control them, but you need big balls. If you can't control them,
yeah.
exactly, then you can't, of course, win the game. So that's a bit of a different way of phrasing it.
Yeah, but what if you phrase it in a way that you can use them to go in for you thanks to some abilities? so that you can kill the enemy team.
Use them is crazy.
I will say. Sorry, go ahead, AJ.
No, you go ahead.
Okay, it's funny because I was actually going to have this hot take, but I've talked with Aledos about this, and I knew he was going to have it. I had a very similar. I had that approach when I started mid lane, because I remember I came into mid lane with a very toxic mindset. I felt like I had to 1v9. I actually started with Kassadin for that reason. And I think it's
Whoa.
Call on camera.
it's an important side of the game to understand. I genuinely like it's not everything about League of Legends, but I think it is really important. Like a lot of people, if they play, you know, certain mages or like Ahri, certain facilitators, I think like you don't know that feeling of being ultra selfish, having that mindset that you need to carry, you need to get really fed yourself. And that you need to win games. And again, that can go too far. That can be toxic. But I think it's a really good experience to have playing a champion like that and having that 1v9 mindset and bring that to maybe some other champions, such that with Ahri, you have maybe, you know, I've won really hard games by being selfish for myself and not as we were talking about, over roaming or like playing for other people, just being really selfish. So I think it's a really important part of the game that you should understand.
Yeah, it's interesting because I feel as though we all kind of have been through a 1v9 arc. Like every single one of us have probably gone through a period of time where it's like, fuck my team. I want to win this game. Give me all the resources. I don't give a shit. And in a way that does develop a certain particular set of skills. To say though, it's interesting because I definitely am more on the side of Tim here. But to play devil's advocate to myself and Tim, I would say that there are certain personality types that are very like vulnerable to just being a victim and facilitating everyone else and just permanently compensating. Like they're just yes, man. Like, yes, sir, I will help you here. Yes. And those people do need to kind of definitely embrace a 1v9 arc in their journey as a player. And yeah, it maybe can cause some damage, but situationally, as the doctor prescribes it, I think it can be quite useful to unlock potential. Like, okay, what is it like for me to develop, because what it does, right? It develops confidence that if I am the one with all the resources and I have to figure out a way to win this game, like, how do I do it? And so that can unlock some elements of like, okay, maybe I need to be emphasizing lane assignments. I need to be thinking critically about getting farm. I need to be thinking critically about my engage windows. I need to be thinking about my target selection. Now, there are probably other ways. Well, yeah, value in your life. There are probably other ways to get to that point, but maybe some people could potentially benefit from that. Again, bit nuts, but just kind of trying to explain the other side of things. Thoughts?
All I would add on that is I also think it depends what champion you're playing. I think a champion like Kassadin or Echo, they are very needing to like get items, right? So the 1v9 mindset can really facilitate you to get your spikes. I would say something like Orianna, very dependent on teammates, right? They freeze again?
Yeah, they freeze again.
Fine. No, he's going to finish his point.
We talk or not?
No,
it's always when 610's talking, like every time.
Yeah, every time. He gets nervous.
Do you think it's...
just wait till they get back.
Fine.
Very hard
they can finish with the point. You're just going to give me
like the 1v9 mindset.
He's such a hard thing.
Yeah, I mean,
If you speak, you're in trouble.
Flow. That's what I hate about it.
It does.
I am not in trouble. I am the revolutionary Kassadin player. Okay.
Really?
New age Kassadin here.
Yeah. No,
not toxic.
I think
toxic,
not even racist.
I think there is another aspect to it with the psychology that you mentioned, because I think a lot of people are like, some people have a mindset where they're really good at absorbing blame or kind of taking accountability. So I think if you are the type of person that can really take accountability for the game, it's actually less dangerous to have the 1v9 mindset. Whereas I think a lot of people, they want to be that 1v9 player, they try to adopt that mindset, but then they end up just blaming their team.
They're not
and
that
like,
guy.
Those guys are against me, you know. Whereas some people are like, you know, oh, I should have carried that game.
Yeah.
You know, that's the difference. It's like some people are like, they try 1v9, they lose, they blame the 4 other members on their team. Other people, they try and carry, they lose, and they're like, how could I have carried that game hard? What could I have done to win that game?
Yeah, no, I see what you mean. Totally.
Yeah,
I was going to add to that also that, like, I think it really depends what champion you're playing. I think for a champion like Kassadin, it's very good to be more selfish. But a champion like, for example, Orianna or Syndra, or especially victory, like you don't really have anything to do yourself. It's a lot more important. You understand like your teammates' position and what they want to do instead of just playing a solo man game.
Yeah, I mean, I would even add to that I don't even think that this is much about like viewing your teammates as an enemy. It's more like you need to have, like, my take is more like you need to have the mindset that you have all the tools to carry the game, and you need to take full accountability for that. And your teammates, you can use them as tools, and you can totally use it as like, okay, I need to be synced up to 1v9 this game. I cannot be on off tempo. I cannot allow my enemy to go to bot lane without them knowing, because then that would inhibit my ability to carry the game. So in a way, the way I want to take the 1v9 mindset is less about the factor of, yeah, my teammates are my enemies and they will be holding me back, but more like, because I have all the tools available to me, I can conquer this game, even if I'm 1v9.
I agree with you, but
it's just careful. You got to be so careful, right, with the 1v9. That's where it ties back to team play. Like the moment
like
1v9, it's
Right.
Yeah, like the cultural aspect, I think, is the problem here, right? It's not that it's
a
not
lot of
necessarily
baggage.
what we're trying to say. I think makes a lot of sense. I agree with you guys. It's just socially and culturally, the word is not defined as how we're defining it, right? We're just saying we're giving a definition to something completely different, right? We should just call it something else, because everyone listening, the average person listening to this, is going to think what we've been talking about. 1v9 means, okay, my team is literally against me, right? Even so far to go, Riot is against me, right? Like that's how far they're going to go. They're going to say it's me against everyone else in the game, including Riot Games. The matchmaking is fucked. Everything is fucked. I was looking just as a tangent in the League subreddit, and someone was saying that the reason why he was bronze was because challenger matchmaking puts challengers against diamonds. Therefore, he has bad matchmaking as well. So people come up with any sort of reasoning they could possibly think of to justify their experiences, right? Rather than like, it's like, I am the one influencing the game. It's a meritocracy. No one can, like the average player doesn't believe that, right? That's just the reality. They don't believe the game's a true meritocracy. So I think the word 1v9 just has too many cultural implications, social implications for it to be like healthy, even if we try our best to like reshape the word, right?
Yeah, totally agree. And I think that's where like hopefully episodes like this podcast is going to help people change their relationship with the SoloQ. But we just take it one day at a time, right? That's what we try to do in the Midland Academy with people. And some people can change, some people can't. All right, we're going to handball. Oh, do you have anything, 610, before we move on?
No, I said them. When you said some people can't change.
Yeah, I mean, I don't say that willy-nilly. There are some people that they're not ready to change, right? Someone can tell you, like AJ just said, AJ can have a conversation with someone and say, well, look, it is a meritocracy. Look at my SoloQ account and look at my gameplay. And AJ could literally walk through all his decisions and all their decisions, and they will still not change because they're not mentally ready to accept that truth. They're not mentally ready.
Rock bottom.
Yeah,
it's painful.
It's painful, right? Yeah, exactly right. Because then it ties into like, if that were to be true, then I'm vulnerable, right? Because a lot of people, they don't want to be vulnerable. They want to hide their insecurity with the ego. The ego.
I think it's just a game, right? It's like, oh, I can't do well in a game, like a video game.
Yeah, exactly right.
Because I was having a conversation with, again, an average player. He was saying how master tier isn't considered high elo, which it's top 1%, right? And so I gave him an example. I said, okay, let's say we took a blacksmith, right? And you were talking to the top 1% of all blacksmiths in the world. Would you consider that person an expert in their craft? And he was like, yeah, totally. And that became eye-opening to him. He was like, wait a minute, like actually master is very impressive. I just didn't see it that way because it's just a video game, right? It doesn't garner that same level of respect that any other hobby or profession has.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, and also as well, just societally, like not even just inside the League community, societally, right? Like, and I think I've had this conversation on the podcast before. Like, even just society, like the way chess is viewed comparatively to gaming, right? Like, chess is, just from a societal perspective, well, it's like an art. It's like people who are good at chess are just intelligent beings, right? And they're geniuses and blah 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 blah. But it's like, but like League's a harder game than chess, right? League is 100% a harder game than chess. But the reality is that because we're sitting here in the comfy chair and playing online, and there's little magical fairies running around, that like it doesn't garner the same respect, right? And that's where we're at. That's where gaming is at, right? That we're in this, as Nathan said, the stone ages of gaming for that very reason.
I think it's a good message that League is harder, but maybe from the wrong messenger.
Right, exactly right. I mean, it can't come from someone like me, right? Because I don't have a background in chess. It needs to come from someone who has a background in both games as well, right?
Yeah.
But I don't think you need to have a PhD in chess to understand that League's harder than chess, right?
I think I would say it's more complex. League is more complex because there's like more things, but I think
That's what you mean by harder.
mastering it,
yeah.
I think it's probably more in chess, I would say. Like more like in-depth lines and stuff.
It's just like micro macro in a way, right? The way you want to view chess is like you play the same matchup every single time on mid lane a million times, and the refinement is way higher in that case. Same as when they introduced Fearless Draft. Before that, you saw the same matchups in pro play, and the level of matchup understanding and the way the games were played out were so structured. They were like just an oiled machine running. And that's also what you see with chess, with all of these lines. But right now, when it's a lot more variability in the game, League definitely has a way higher cap in that sense.
Well, there's multiple reasons why League's a harder game, right? For number one, there's just objectively more variables, right? There's more, and also you don't have all the information at play, right? In League of Legends, there's fog of war, right? Half the time you're having to assume things because you don't have all the information. Whereas in chess, you literally have all the information in front of your face. And also the decision time, right? You have to make decisions in 0.1 of a second all the time. And there's a constant test. And the game is changing. The game is literally getting patched and changing every 2 to 3 weeks. So to stay at the very top of a game like League of Legends, objectively, I think it's not even close to something like chess because the game doesn't change. There's less variables. Now, I'm not saying chess is obviously an incredibly hard thing, and this is not even the point of the point of my argument. The point of my argument is more like the connotation behind the respect that chess garners. Right? Let's say chess is slightly more complex than League of Legends.
Yeah.
Think about that relative to the respect that League garners comparatively to chess. It's not even close.
Yeah,
like if you go on the street, oh, this guy's top 1% in League of Legends and this guy's top 1% in chess. People are going to think that person in chess is like a genius or like, just an intellectual or whatever, right? In League of Legends, so they're just a nerd, right? Or whatever people think. I don't know.
Let's compare this, right? I think this is a really fun thought process. Tyler 1, everyone knows Tyler 1, reached the top 1% of chess players within a year of playing chess. If you would put a chess player in League, would they become master tier within a year of playing?
No shot.
I think
Unless they got insane talent.
I will say there is one difference because the way, and this is where chess is kind of a little bit easier, is like Tyler 1 just played like one opening.
You can OTP a champ.
Yeah, you can OTP. Well, not just, it's not even, it's completely different from even OTPing a champ because if you play 10,000 games of the same opening, you will see the top like 5 lines in like 90% of your games. So what that means is like you can study these lines and you will know what to do just from memory, right? It's pure memory. And that's actually a big, like there's been this problem in chess for a while now with computers where a lot of the top players, they feel like it's taken a lot of creativity out of chess because the younger generation of players, they just study all these lines, and the older generation, they have to kind of rely. What they do is they play suboptimal moves to take the younger generation of people out of those lines that they had studied and force them to play chess essentially instead of just studying these lines. So that is a big difference, I would say, and one of the reasons why it is easier to get to like let's say 2000 rated on chess is you can really rely on your openings. But to push to like the highest level of chess, I don't think that's really the case. Like I think it is easier to get to like let's say 2000 than to get to the highest level where people will like really challenge your understanding of your openings and force you to Yeah, like
But I just don't think that's relevant, right? Because the let's say Tyler 1 gets to top 1% in chess in 1 year. There's the likelihood that the average chess player, high level chess player, challenger equivalent, is going to get master tier in League of Legends in 1 year is next to none, right? Unless they have already a sophisticated, even if they have a sophisticated gaming background, right? Like even then, it's still really, 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 really hard, right? But then what you're saying though is like, okay, what would be an even more interesting thing? Let's compare someone going from, let's say, the equivalent of bottom master tier to becoming an actual high level challenger player.
Yes.
In League of Legends, compared to that in chess.
2,000 to 3,000, yeah.
Right. So like 2,000 to 3,000 in chess. And then in League, 0 LP master tier.
Yeah.
To, what is it nowadays to be like, let's say top.
Almost 4,000 in EUS.
What is it? 3K?
Like 3K.
Okay, think about the quality of the
Rank
player.
1 is 3.8.
Right. So think about the quality of the player who's like top 20 in EU West and the bottom of master tier.
Yeah, it really depends on what type of player that there's in the bottom of master tier. If you have an OTP that just only played Katarina and hit master tier 0 LP, he will never ever in his life get to the top of challenger without first understanding what all of the other champions do in the game, understand what the other roles do, because he's going to get out the field. He's going to get blasted by, for example, 610, who is not an OTP. And he can.
There's no stop laughing. There's nothing funny here. Like the every champion again.
Now I know how to trigger 610.
Yeah, and a really good example is, for example, Catcold from our Istvan from the Midlane Academy. He reached low master tier on Europe, and he wanted to go big and said, "Hey, I want to climb to challenger eventually." And I said, "Okay, great. The best way for us to do that, if we want to become an actual challenger level player, is to drop kata and we're going to start playing Victor. We're going to start playing Ari. We're going to learn the mid lane fundamentals through a different lens. And in the longer term, we could always come back to kata, but at least we learn the game through different lenses." He's dropped to Emerald 2, by the way, from Master. And he just literally posted a ranked achievements post. And he said, yes, I dropped 600 more or 800 LP, but I've never learned this much as I have ever done in my league journey, because I'm now experiencing different styles and I feel like I'm actually learning parts of the game. So it's like he's doing a bit of an investment where
it's a long-term investment.
LP. Long-term investment, exactly.
I mean, I would say that's not really. I think that's a bad strategy if your goal is just to climb the challenger. Like the first time I climbed the challenger, I didn't even look at the map. Like I came back from Fortnite and I was like pretty good mechanics with Echo, but I just played for myself, never roamed, never looked at the map.
But that wouldn't work nowadays, 610.
No,
that wouldn't work.
Old times.
That's old time.
So what I'm arguing for is I think to like. Not to become a good player, but to climb, I think it's better to just like really hone in on one champion, not learn the game. And
well, let's get into this because I disagree.
I've never seen success recently.
Yeah, it doesn't work. Like, okay, like, so this is where this is kind of, let's just make this an arbitrary hot take, right? It's an additional hot take, right? So your hot takes, Extend, I'm going to just articulate, let me know if I'm wrong here, is that if someone is in bottom of master tier and they wanted to get to challenger, the best way that, like, let's say the most efficient way in your eyes is that that Katarina player should continue being a Katarina OTP and just slam 1,000 games of Katarina and just they're going to get to challenger that way. Versus that's better in your mind than just doing what Tim said, which is cycle through a series of different champions and then that's going to get them to challenger in a more reliable way. Is that right? Am I right there?
Almost. So here's how I would do it. Let's say I'm John right now. I'm Katarina 0 LP. What I would do is I would watch Twitch VODs of Raiko and Kexeres, two high elo Katarina OTPs, and I would really try to copy them. Not think anything creative myself, just try to become them. Mechanics-wise, move-wise, and whatever. And then I would compare to my own gameplay while playing around 6 to 7 games a day. Sorry, that was not intended. And then just like keep spamming that every day.
Okay. And you think that would net more? So Tim, your experience in Loop, AJ, you guys, worked with a lot of people, even Aledos, you guys, all three of you, you guys have worked with a lot of people. You've worked with a lot of master tier players. In your experience, what would be more effective? What 610 said, or doing a more champion cycle in whatever way you think?
I think the ultimate case study here is Marvin's. from the Midland Academy here. And AJ and me had a very similar experience with Marvin's. Marvin's was like next. He's back, by the way. Great player, insanely good Yasuo. Mechanics are true to earth. This guy will fuck you up in the lane. This guy will be able to play versus a high challenger player in the lane, and he will be able to do fine. Okay, he's gonna be winning the lane as Yasuo. He's gonna be able to potentially get a solo kill. He's gonna do Yasuo things. But the moment we start looking at the map, he doesn't know what to do because there's too much information. And the only skill that viewed like a skill tree, right? He's only invested in like solo killing and laning. And when it comes to macro, he's never really learned that because he's only winning games through brute forcing. And he's tried by watching other Yasuo players, but the only thing that he can do is just fully stand on Yasuo. So we suggested to him, you might want to try and learn the game through a different lens so you can learn those skills, then come back to Yasuo, you're going to be a much more well-rounded player. I think you suggest that, right, AJ?
Yeah, I did.
How did that? Because what happened there?
Yeah, so he couldn't do it because, and this is why I think it doesn't work because what happens is that your worldview becomes way too distorted, right? Yeah. When you're a Yasuo OTP for that long, it's not possible to just copy the better players because your worldview has become so fucked that you watch how they play and you're injecting what you believe they're doing.
You wouldn't see reality. You don't see reality. You have your own weird lens. You're watching them play.
And that's why Marvin's only freaking watches montages now. He can't even watch a full game VOD. That's how screwed his worldview is, right? And I'm not saying that to bash him, right? But that's what happens when you go down the OTP rabbit hole for that long and you're not like some like insanely, I guess, cerebral person who can really think outside the box and get outside of your ego and your worldview and look outwards. Right? I think that's a unique skill in itself. And to be honest, if you could do that, you could probably get to challenger anyway.
And they could do exactly right. That's my point. Like I think what Sixen is describing is someone that is super logical. They're super open-minded. They're like a pure student of the game. They have no burnout, no stage 4 issues. That person could literally play fucking any. They could have a champ pool of 5 champions and probably still get to challenger. That's just a really, really good gamer. That person, it doesn't matter what they do at that stage. But I think like, because the way you want to view it, like just to inject my opinion on this is like being an OTP and doing that journey, you're going to lose your fucking mind. You're going to go to hell and back. Like you're going to, by the end of that journey, you're going to be in a mental asylum because you won't have the ability to stay coherent. You're going to, because what happens, you're going to get to like 300 LP and you're going to start losing. You're like, I copied this. Look, this is what this guy did and I'm doing it and I'm still losing. Like it won't, because you don't have all that knowledge, you won't be able to be able to distinguish why is that guy winning that game and why am I losing that game? So you're going to implode. That's when narratives get created instantaneously. So you're going to hit like 1,000 landmines along the way to get to that point. So theoretically, 16, I agree. Theoretically, someone who is that monk, that mental monk, yes, it probably is. You are probably right. That probably is the best way to climb. It's just not based on reality, though. It defies human nature, I think, is my...
But I would say, like, I think your argument is not either based in reality. Like,
let's go. Come on, buddy. Let's go.
All right. So, like, take Tim, for example. Like, Tim thing, for example. Like, he's like gloating right now that he made his master tier go to Emerald. And like, sure, maybe in 2 years he's gonna come back to master again. But like, I don't think that's a good way to climb. I think, like you said, like if someone who could climb with 1 champion could climb with 5 champs as well. I think there's like no proof of that. Like every time I see someone get high elo, or I see someone do great, 90% of the time, it's not they're playing good champ for the draft. They're picking 1 champ, they're getting really good at that champion. I think the challenge with that, right, as you said, is losing your mind. But I think that's a smaller issue than trying to learn 5 different champions and try to understand every single thing in the game. Meanwhile, just honing in.
But that's not my argument. My argument, I was just being, I was exaggerating. I don't think that I wouldn't recommend someone to play 5 champions. The way they would actually climb, if we can actually compare, right, what your strategy would be to mine would be, okay, let's say, again, John, that 0 pearl mouse. I would say, okay, now you're going to play 60 games of Nefiri. And then you're going to do 60 games of Ari. 80 games of Ari, and then you're going to do 80 games of like, Rise or whatever the fuck it is. And then after they've maybe cycled through 80 games of each, they might go back to Katarina, and then they're going to climb, right, as an OTP, because they have a backlog of information.
Cat player.
They'll be a better Katarina player. Exactly.
And I can use my own anecdotal experience because I was a Yone Ari 2-trick to Challenger, right? And back then I thought, oh man, I'm like the best Yone in NA, right? Even at that point. And then what happened is I learned Azir, I learned Hui, I learned some other random champs. I went on an Ori journey, Victor journey. I came back and my Yone was like unironically better, like without even touching the
You haven't even touched the champ.
I haven't touched a champ because I remember this so distinctly. The season 14 meta, there was Trist mid, Ezreal mid, Quirky mid, Smolder mid. Okay. I played against this guy named Mystic, and he was a top 10 Ezreal player. He played Ezreal mid. He destroyed me so hard on Yone. Like when I was Yone, it wasn't even funny. What I did is I played Ezreal for 60 games. I knew it just like that. I knew all the intricacies of what Ezreal needed to do to win this matchup or win the game. Then I played him again. I rematched him, and he got destroyed by me. Because now all of a sudden I have this understanding of like, okay, Ezreal's really good at levels 1 to 3, but his first base is kind of trash in mid, right? And he's like not that great at skirmishes unless he gets a ton of prio. It's like I understood what Ezreal did, but I didn't know like how does Ezreal want to think at every single point in the game, right? And that gave me so much more understanding. I'm like, again, if we go back to the patience example, that gave me more patience on my Yone, right? Because I knew what to look for.
Okay, but to kind of counterbalance that and to kind of agree, question this a little bit, do you feel like that would have actually helped you if you lacked mastery with Yone? Like if you were a worse Yone, I think what maybe is happening there is like you had just capped out on being really good at Yone and you lacked knowledge in other areas. What if you were just a worse Yone player? And you had
so you're saying like, what if instead of me being at 99.9% at Yone, I was like 70%?
Yeah,
right? That's your argument. Well, I still think the argument's true because again, I played Yasuo recently. I was Yasuo OTP for 8 years. My Yasuo mechanics are complete trash compared to what they used to be. Right? They were like back then because I played like at least 5,000 Yasuo games. Right? OTP for 7 years. I'm probably at like a 60% now compared to like the 99% I was now. I still think I'm significantly better at playing fights with Yasuo now than I was back then. Right? Like it's not even close. So I still think the argument would still stand, even if I was the worst Yasuo. Just as long as my mastery was good enough that I could function in the game, right? Like you're at the point where you're hitting a mechanics gap every game. Yeah, then I don't think no.
So, but I do want to tie it back to that the example we use of the was it Cat Cold from MLA, right? It's fun. He went from Master to Emerald. By the time he recycles back to Katarina, he's going to have so much of an easier time climbing with that champion than he would have if he would have stuck at Katarina, because he's now not only experienced the game through different lenses, most importantly, like imagine we use the metaphor of like that Katarina player who's only played Katarina. They've got like tinted glasses on, right? They're seeing the like rose tinted. Yeah, they're clean. They're crystal clean. Yeah. Now that guy can go in and probably look at a Katarina streamer or higher OTP and see the reality of what that person is doing.
I think this conversation also relies on the fact that there's like one type of master player, because I think there's like, we're kind of assuming that Istvan is getting completely blasted in this episode, but we're kind of assuming that Istvan could like go higher with Katarina himself, with purely like it might have been the case that like there was still room for improvement with the Katarina.
Yeah, I see what you mean, but I look again. We are talking about things in generalities, and that's all we can do because we're not using specific examples. We can't pull up someone's account, but like the reason like I think I'm so passionate about this topic is because I've just seen so many players play for hundreds and hundreds and thousands of games over years and be at the same rank. Because if champion mastery alone and playing one champion and really wanting to win was enough, then it would have worked. It just would work. And I've just seen so many case studies, so many examples, like literally probably hundreds of people that have been an OTP and have hit a brick wall and they cannot cross that bridge. Right. And I just...
Can I disagree? Like, I would like to disagree with that though. Like I agree. In reality, a lot of times it won't work for them. And I also agree that playing other champions is going to make you better at your own champion. There's a few things I would change, though, with your guys' argument. So number one thing is I would, take the Master Guy who dropped the Emerald. What I would do is instead of playing a Victor on your master account, I would play another account. Play a second account.
Yeah, I agree. You should have played a second account. I agree.
Victor. Yeah. You don't need to master Victor. You just need to understand the champion. And
yes,
that's fair enough.
Agreed.
Like, I think it's very good to have played every champion in game once. Know their cooldowns, know their things. I agree with that. I don't think you should do it on the main. The second thing is about, like, let's say you do play Victor 60 games. It's going to take a month. And you play another champ for a month. I think those people who spam like 1,000 games in Master and don't climb, I think their process is completely wrong. Like, they're too much ego involved. They're not reviewing their games properly. I don't think they're actually trying to study pro players, the better players. What they do is they watch like a Twitch VOD of someone like Kexeres or Raiko play Katarina, and they're like, yeah, I would do that too. But instead, what you should do is you should pause the game and try to predict what he's going to do. Try to learn. Because if you just react, you're not going to
I'm totally on board with you, but what we're saying is that's not possible for that person to do what you're saying.
Yeah.
Right? It's literally not possible for them to do it because there's too much feelings involved. There's too much ego. Because you're saying drop the ego, but it's like, if only, like, best case scenario, right? If we're on, like, Disneyland, you know, they can drop the ego and do that. But the reality is, like, human nature just doesn't allow for that.
It's not
don't
that
even know it's
simple.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, no,
If it
I
was that
see what you
simple, they
mean,
would just do it.
Sixten. Sixten, you are right. Sixten, you are right. In a perfect world, you are right. It's just not.
People don't do that. That's the thing.
It's just
People just don't do that.
Exactly right. The average person won't do that.
I'm going to keep living in my Neverland.
I'm gonna. Actually, no. I've got a hot take before mine. We're gonna handball it over to you, Lucas.
Okay.
Bring it back. You got the mic now.
Yeah. So I have two hot takes. One's a bit spicier than the other. So I'll probably start with the spicy one. I think that Flame in League of Legends is not the demon everybody pretends it to be. And I think it's very careful that I make myself clear here. I think there's like toxicity and then there's flame. And to me, toxicity is when you go really far and you're attacking people. I think for me, this is a very subject that I really resonate with because there was a time where I would flame a lot, especially when I had a very toxic relationship with the game. Where I think flame comes from is really having a lot of passion about the game and really trying to win. And I think when for example, when I get flamed, I kind of see that from the enemy, from the person who's flaming me, from their perspective. And I understand it, right? And when you understand where flame is coming from, I don't think it's that bad. I think you need to... I would rather get flamed by someone who's trying to win if they're really passionate about the game.
Okay, so what you're trying to say is that you think flame is a sign of passion and a care to win.
Competitive environment.
We're in a competitive environment, and
I don't think I don't think it's a good thing, right? I think it really represents a lot of insecurity, and you're really projecting your issues onto other people. But I think a lot of people, I personally just think that it represents a very competitive environment, and I don't think it's as bad as a lot of people chalk it up to be.
Thoughts, comments?
I would definitely disagree with that, just from personal experience. So, okay, I think it depends on your personality, because I get very bothered when someone else flames me, especially when I believe that their flame is unjustified. So this happens all the time. I see this happen all the time. When I'm in a 10-man challenger game, the amount of flame I get is unironically 1% of when I'm playing a game and all 4 of my teammates are masters. Now, how crazy is that? I'm rank 35, and I'm getting flamed tens of times more when I have 4 master players on my team compared to when I have 4 other top 50 players on my team. So to me, that it comes from a place of, like you said, projection, but it's projection. Yeah, like they're just projecting again, if we go back to the cat example, right? They're just objectively less correct worldview onto me, right? So to me, I feel that as a personal attack in a way, right? Even if they're trying to win, it's like, in my mind, it's like, who are you to flame me when your worldview is like this, kind of, right? Mm-hmm. I start to go in judgment mode. So I have to, when I see flame, especially when it's not from a very, very, a player that like I respect, right? I intrinsically respect. I have to instant mute, or it's gonna bother me. Like they could go 0-20, and I remember I had a game where Orn top literally ran to my lane and griefed me, and I was less mad over that than the same player in my game pinging me for missing a 0R, right? So I think it depends on the personality and the rank you're in, and like how you view your teammates in a particular game. So I think it's like a very slippery slope. It comes down
because Flame is a bit. It's. I think it's mentioned in a bit of a negative light because Flame is like very heavily criticizing someone negatively. I think if passion is good and willing to win is also good, but I think giving feedback to certain players can also be, or giving direction is something that's good. But flaming them and really pointing out the negative, it's actually a very self-intrinsic problem that you have because you're literally vomiting out your negative feelings towards someone else. If you're a positive guy, right, and you're taking accountability and you see someone make a mistake, right, you don't flame them. You might give them direction or you might get sad yourself like, happens. But flame always comes from the person themselves. So I don't think flaming is a good thing.
I'm not saying it's good for...
Right. I'm gonna...
Sorry, go 16.
Sorry.
No, I was going to say, it's not flame that's coming from you. The message I'm trying to get across is like, try to empathize a little bit with the people flaming you, that they are ultimately insecure about something in themselves, or they feel so much pain in their mistakes that they're trying to project that and put that feeling onto, they're trying to kind of get rid of that feeling from themselves. And I think it's a lot easier to deal with that flame as an individual in SoloQ when you empathize a little bit and when you understand where that's coming from fundamentally.
I agree. But then we kind of want to, I 100% agree. Like, this is amazing the way you said it, right? Then we kind of go back to, I might have been mistaken to misunderstand your hot take. And what was the hot take?
The hot take is, I think flame is overly demonized. And because flame represents a competitive environment and a combination of a competitive environment with someone that is kind of a little bit emotional and like projecting, and that like I think if they don't truly deep down mean that flame in a lot of cases. So I think you don't need to take that to heart is kind of what I'm getting across.
I feel like you can empathize with it, but you can't justify it, if that makes sense. Like, I can resonate with him, but just because someone's emotional doesn't mean in my eyes that they can just do whatever they want, you know? Like, just because he's emotional, that doesn't give him the right to attack my character or like, spam ping me or project, right? Like, I can empathize and be like, oh yeah, I've been there before, you know? Like, he's still got room to grow, but I'm not going to sit there and be like, yeah, it's fine, you know? Like, he's just really being competitive. Like, I just don't think that.
Maybe there's a difference in like kind of how I guess describe flame. I would say it's not like, like hard flaming, typing, being toxic. It's more like, pinging or like, what the fuck? Why did you do that? Or it's not. It's just more. It's more about.
It's like, not personal. Yeah, it's more about the game.
Yes,
yeah. 600. What was your take on this?
I was gonna say flame is not a good thing. I think it's a great thing.
Here we go.
Bring it on, this.
Now, hear me out.
Tag in.
I'm not really a toxic person. I promise, Mom. But I think. Not writing flame like you piece of shit, you suck is terrible. I think being very emotional and very active in the game, and like when something doesn't go wrong, question mark pinging like the guy who messed up, or like you just ping him once when he dies when he just shouldn't be dying. I know it's very triggering to people, and it's like to the guy who's receiving it, it's not a good thing. But I think this gives a lot of passion to the game, and you will see it from every single rank 1 player, every single high elo player. Either they're pinging a bit sometimes. They don't write a Dante's essay. But every single one, take Kalist, take Phantasm, take Nadinet, all of them either flame or complain a lot about the teammates to the stream. I think it's optimal if you can just complain to yourself. But I think it's not a fluke. Like if every single rank 1 player, especially in EU, at least in EU, is perma doing it. And you will see it in the Koreans too. When they stream, sure, in Korean culture, you don't really like tell them outright, in games. They don't really flame there. But every single streamer, every time you have translate on their, the only thing they're doing is complaining about their teammates. So I think it gives a lot of energy to the game. Because if you're sitting like Nemesis, you're like this, not doing anything, you're not going to give energy. Like, you're not going to be able to play good. So I think flaming a bit is very good to give more energy to the game.
I think everyone's different. Curtis, what do you think?
Yeah, it's a tough one. I don't know. Like, it's a very controversial topic because, it really is a good hot take because Okay, so let's. I like to kind of compare it in other sports. In every other sport, there is banter. There is a little bit of flame. There is a little bit of jabbing and this and that and the other, right? Obviously, using in-person IRL sports is maybe not the greatest because there's not the anonymity aspect.
Yeah.
There's not like it's more passive aggressive, I guess, in gaming rather than in person, right? If someone says something to your face in person, then you just
Got to back it up.
you can deal with. You got to back it up, or you just got to deal with it, right?
Yeah.
But I would say in other games, so for example, Counter-Strike, there's a lot of banter and there's a lot of borderline flame and toxicity, and I'm not here to justify it, but I kind of feel like it's baked in the competitive experience. So like I think it's like our message, right, at the BBC and kind of what we try to get across is taking accountability and obviously trying to bring others up in a game and calling someone out and flaming someone in a game and question mark pinging their body after they die. Is that going to increase our chances of winning the game, or is it going to decrease? It's going to decrease, right? Now, is that person going to be like, if we question mark ping them 2 or 3 times, is that person going to be more critical maybe about their decisions and maybe review that sequence more? Maybe. But in terms of like that game, let's say just we played that one game over in an alternate reality 100 games, like we would have been better off not pinging, right? So from a perspective of getting more results and getting more LP, flame is bad. But in saying that, we are human and we all care. We're all passionate. We are all competitive. We want to win. I'm personally okay, for example, today Kane tried to knock up this Kha'Zix, and I tried to time my Vex R with the Kane knock up. And I didn't see that this Kha'Zix went invisible and missed it. I didn't see the animation, and the Vex R missed, and we lost the skirmish. And then he question mark pinged my R. No, I think he pings my R twice and question mark pinged me. And I'm like, yeah, well, fuck, yeah. Honestly, I can see where he's coming from. I should have recognized that the knockup didn't go through. It was invisible, blah, 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 blah. So I'm able to like make sense of that, and I didn't get bothered by it. I'm like, okay, fair enough. He's just a bit pissed. He's competitive. He wants to win. I don't take that personally. But where do you draw the line though between someone that is like saying "fuck you" and picking, then following my it's so hard to articulate what the middle ground is. You know what I mean? This is where it turns into a slippery slope. Like how do we articulate 2 question mark pings and a ping R versus
the message there is I'm not saying it's the optimal strategy to flame people. I'm just saying when you are in a competitive environment, flame is ultimately the result of passionate and being competitive, and having a different view of something than someone else, right?
Well, not always. I don't even think it's about having a different view. I think it can just be like an emotional regulation thing. Like you just snap. It's just like it's not even logical.
Yes.
Flame's not logical most of the time,
or that as well. But I think it's really important that you interpret that flame correctly. Like for me, and maybe this is just like an EUS thing potentially, but when I see flame or when I get flamed and I feel like I deserve it, it kind of, as Sixten said, it adds to the energy. It puts me in like a competitive mindset in a way.
But this is where I feel like we got to be very careful about the high-low elitist community and the average player experience. Like if we're talking about a full challenger lobby, and you've got Phantasm question mark pinging the jungler for like missing a gank or whatever, well then like sure, because they're playing at the highest level of the game. But for the average listener or the average player who's playing an Emerald or Platinum or Gold, and they're getting spam pinged on a skirmish when that person doesn't even fucking look at their mini map. It's like
fuck you.
Yeah, it's like the blind leading the blind. It's like who is that person to have the audacity to flame me? Like they're playing like shit as well.
I'm in that camp. That camp. I'll be vulnerable here. I am in that. When someone's spam pinging me and I know they're not a high elo player, I'm literally like, fuck you, dude. Like who for you to ping me? Right?
I want to
just missing things.
I really want to
click the little mute button on them and then
yeah, exactly right.
So, Charlie, put up my OPGG here. Yesterday, case study. Yesterday, I played versus Phantasm. Okay, I played Victor versus his Akshan, and he had an autofill way player, autofill way player on bot lane, which is called Liz the Iceborne. Okay, Lissandra player last season, just basically high diamond, low master tier player in the game because he's 3.8k LP. They gotta nerf him a little bit and put a little bit of a lower elo guy with him. This wave player didn't land a single spell in the entire game, right? He was getting caught off every single wave, and he completely solo lost the game. All right. So I rewatched the stream, and start to finish, Phantasm was murdering this guy. It was murdering this guy. Now put yourself in the shoes of Listy Iceborne. Imagine being that guy, playing with one of your favorite streamers. You finally get to the Master T. You play with fucking Phantasm. You rewatch the stream, and you see that guy grilling the fuck out of you, start to finish of the game. This is going to be the worst experience that you can get as a League player because you don't understand it. You get completely grilled. You're going to feel shit for the next couple of 2 weeks. You can't even queue up anymore because imagine you get into his game again. He's going to remember your name. He's going to don't even want to play with you. Right?
It's not even his fault because he's got in a highly.
Yeah, it's not even his fault.
Yeah, it's not even his fault.
Yeah.
I remember when I was a Masters, that's how I felt because I would look up to the better players, right? And then I would go watch the stream back, right? When I was like a Master, also OTP, like Bjergsen, when he was a good player, he'd be like flaming the fuck out of me, and I'd be like so sad because I'm like, I looked up to you, you know? It's like you're just flaming the fuck out of me now. It's like, what do I do?
Yeah.
You know?
Okay, so here's what I would argue for. Flaming is inherently bad. Like, it's bad, but it's also great. Like, hear me out. Like, it's bad for your morality, it's bad for everything, but it's good to climb with SoloQ if you do it well. And the best thing is about solo, why I think flame is generally a positive thing if you don't go too far, is because it helps your ego, like your confidence. I think if you're someone who never flames, and because you're going to get flamed in solo, ever does, even if you play really good or play really bad. So if you day in and day out get flamed, and you're like, sure, it doesn't matter, focus on the game. I think subconsciously, that's how it works for me at least, I lose confidence a lot. Because if I always take on responsibility and I'm always getting put down by my teammates, even if I mute them after the first flame, more and more my confidence will be lacking. But if you sometimes take it out on other people, which is not a good thing, but it's kind of the only thing you can do, I think it's going to help a lot.
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. I would just push back on that. Like, I think flame doesn't necessarily, like, you don't need to externalize someone else fucking up, right? Like, you can know within, I get flamed, and it's like, well, I know this guy is I can see he's making all these errors. Now, whether I vocalize that or externalize that doesn't make me feel more confident about myself. Like, even if it does, it's not real confidence. Like, it's fake confidence. It's like, because real confidence comes from like knowing your shit. It's like, right, that's when you're confident, right? It's like, I know exactly what I need to fucking do to win this game. I know exactly how this fight should have played out. And whether this guy flames me or not, or I flame that guy, it makes no fucking difference. So, like, it can temporarily give you a bit of an ego boost, or like slap a Band-Aid, it's like a Band-Aid. But like, this is where it's like long-term versus short-term. I think it's a very slippery slope. If you get in the habit of like flaming people as like an ego booster, then like where you're gonna you're gonna abuse that. Like, you're gonna rely on that, and then that can easily turn into a slippery slope. So I see what you mean, 16. I really love your take, 16, because you're really thinking about your experience a lot, and I appreciate that, because it's not bullshit. You're thinking about what worked for you, what got you results, and you know what this says about you is that you're just a fucked up individual.
All right, we can end this whole call. I will never work with you again. Calling me an OTP, calling me toxic.
No, I'm joking. But in all seriousness, though, what I do want to say is that we all have unique things about our journey what works for us. Like, if you want to, like, that's what I think the theme of this episode is like, you know, Luke is your personality, 16 your personality. You don't mind a little bit of getting spam pings or pinging someone. It doesn't bother you as much, but whereas I'm like more AJ, if I get pinged, like, it really does bother me. It throws me off. I will lose my focus and lose my poise. And that's fine. Both are okay. You know what I mean? Both are okay. So like, I want people listening to this to be like, you know what? Fuck, maybe I'm more in the camp of Lucas and 610, or maybe I'm in the camp of, you know, AJ here, or whatever the takes have been so far. There is no like definitive right or wrong. You got to find what works for you, whether you're the OTP Katarina that wants to be OTP, or you feel like you're better off champ or cycling. You see what I mean? That's like, I guess that's like the way I'm viewing this argument anyway.
Can I just add a small thing to that? Like, for me, when I started becoming a pro player, I was like, I've never really been toxic before I got high elo. But then when I started playing a lot, you know, every day, reviewing, whatever, taking accountability, like, the reason why I'm saying being flaming a bit is a good, it's because this is from personal experience. Like, I used to get flamed a lot, especially when I was coming up, because I wasn't playing good. And taking that in every day and every out, like, I had crippling self-confidence in game. for like 3 years. Just because I never flamed, and I always got flamed, like at least once a day, And that shit just added up. And even though it's very logical about the game, I'm not that emotional of a person. It really adds up after time. So I think if you're not, like I always tell, especially me and Lucas, we're reviewing, always ping back. So if someone pings you, I ping them like 2 times back, self-defense, and then I mute them. Just so I don't
I mean, if that's what works for you, like I said, if that's what works for you, and I think this is where community and friend, like, because I think the MLA is a shield to this. There are a lot of people who get flamed. It's like they can put that, the amount of people that post a DM to me or they put it in VOD question and say, I got spam ping for this play. Can you tell me if I was right or wrong? And then we as the coaches go in and say, no, you're actually the right. Your jungler's fucking delusional here. Right? Like that, we are that shield for them. Now, if they didn't have that shield or they don't have someone else to verify their plays, and you've got no one on your side of the team, no one on your side of the fence, then I totally understand that. You know what I mean? But like, I think if you have a good friendship group, you've got a community behind you, you're getting coaching, like, I think that support group is actually really important for you to like defend for yourself, right? To like kind of create some confidence there. Because that's a super common thing. I mean, do you guys agree? Like, do you guys get questions all the time? Like, I got spam pinged here. Like, am I wrong? Like, what happened?
Very common in VOD questions.
So common, right?
Yeah.
All right, we got to keep this show rolling. I'm actually going to move mine to the side. We'll keep the roundtable going. We're going to palm it back off to Timmy for round 2.
Yeah. Okay. Syndra is the best mid laner to climb.
This is not a hot take, Tim. That's a terrible hot take.
I know Sixten's going to hate this one.
Bring it on, boys.
I mean, I think Syndra is a great champion to climb with. My second hot take was mages are terrible to climb with in high elo, but I think Syndra is the exception because Syndra has her playmaking is a non-ultimate ability. She has good lane. She has decent skirmishing. She's not a Victor. She's not an Orianna. Like, she actually has a lot of agency at all parts of the game. I think she's a great champ. Not really pre-buffs, but now her Q deals 108 damage level 1, which is ludicrous. And it scales really good, so I think it's an amazing champ. I would agree with your hot take. I'm not sure if it's the best champ. I think always the best SoloQ champs historically are going to be the more niche champs. Take like a Katarina, take Akshan, take something that people don't really know the limits of.
So I got some arguments here.
And then you master
I'm going to make. Okay, let's just look at the past 2 years of SoloQ. Right? What we found is that Syndra has basically always been top of the tier, except for like before they buffed her for like 3 months. She was like meh after they nerfed her. The reason why this is the case is because Syndra is rarely played in pro play because they're too good at dodging the spells on one ping. In pro play, it's really hard to play Syndra versus really good players. And therefore, the Riot wants to see Syndra in pro play because she's a very cool champ. They're going to buff her. She's always going to be relatively strong. She has the strongest solo Q spell in the game. The amount of times that I've picked people off with E, 1 E can win you the game. Her power curve is flat throughout the entire lane. She's flexible in the rune setup. She's good versus many drafts. The only thing that you could argue against Syndra being the best solo Q champ in the game to climb on is the fact that she has no mobility. But
she can't side lane, Tim. Her side lane is horrendous.
That's actually not that. No, I mean, she's a great side laner.
I don't think her side lane is that good. I mean, she loses side to so many champions.
Okay, so the thing that you have to understand about Syndra is that she is very non-intuitive in the side lane. Her E is really good at shutting down like many champions trying to get close to her, right? If you have good ball placement and you just are patient with your E usage, you actually get prio in a lot of side lanes. Like, what do we define as winning side lane? Is getting the prio.
Yeah, prio. Yeah,
exactly. So she gets prio with an insane amount of champions due to the fact that she can place her balls in the wave and she can use offensive and defensive ball placement to get control of the lane and therefore get prio. The only thing that she's vulnerable into is potential jungle threat or support threat. Like, that's the shit that kills her. 1v1s are generally really good for her. She also builds HP in either Proto Belt or Cosmic Drive. So she's very hard to remove from the map.
Yeah,
you play Syndra. What do you think?
So I think in high elos, I think champs like Orianna, Syndra are great side laners. I think the lower you become, the harder it is to track the enemy jungler, space the enemy side laner. But I think for high elo, I think Syndra or Orianna are some of the best side laners.
The other...
Because take like Syndra against...
Oh, sorry.
Sorry, what did you
No,
say?
I thought you were done. Keep going.
No, I wasn't done. I would say Syndra, like, take Syndra against any champ, right? Think about Ryze, traditionally good side lane champ. Ryze cannot touch Syndra. Syndra can always just push the wave or poke her to half HP for the wave. Take something like Echo. Echo's EQ range is not long enough for Syndra. So Syndra can always just push the wave or poke him. Like, their range is like, it's like, I would say side laning is just an extension of laning phase, right? With the potential of jungler coming to side.
Well, that's the big X
That's why I think
factor,
the mages
right?
are
The
pretty
big
good
X
side lane.
factor is that you know Syndra has no mobility, and that does limit her ability to play for side. Even though she might be able to win the side laning in the 1v1, right? When I think of side laners, I'm thinking, yes, their ability to get prio, but your ability to get prio also hinges on the fact of like your ability to not die.
Well, I think this is also like a bit more high-low skewed as well, because if you're, let's say you're playing Syndra and high-low, your jungler is going to be hovering you. You're going to be playing on the strong side of the map. The lane assignments are, like, your top laner is going to know to go to the weak side. You're going to know how to fix the lane assignments. Your support's going to be warding for you and establishing vision on your side of the map. So I think in like high-low, it's actually a lot easier not to die on side as a Syndra, and therefore you can like...
Yeah, no,
1v1 a bit more.
Tim, you make a really good argument. Like the way you're describing it, it is kind of the perfect, like it has a bit of everything. Because I'm personally a massive fan of any champion that has a go button. And Syndra does have a go button. Syndra does have an X factor. Like I think kits that have some sort of either like a pick tool, like you know, for example, what's it called? Like Aurora, right? Like, so I think Aurora, like, you know, champions that have some sort of like someone's out of position and you can punish that person out of position, I think is one of the most important aspects of like a champion's kit, right? So he does have that. Like the reason I'm iffy though with Syndra, because it is obviously a bold statement, is that like she's very countered by items, right? She gets countered by mercs pretty hard, and when she's not strong, let's say the meta doesn't favor her and her numbers are not that good, Syndra can get pretty fucking weak pretty quickly. Like you can see her, she just disappears from the meta for a very long period of time comparatively to a lot of other champions. Like if we think about champions that have been consistently in the meta, even when it's bad for their champion, like let's say, again, I'm talking like, let's say Zoe, for example, or something like that, or Ari. Even in bad Ari metas or bad Zoe metas, they're still there and they're still in high elo, whereas Syndra would just disappear.
I will say, in practice though, it's been a not Syndra meta for like 3 months of the last 3 years as well.
True. it was Syndra meta for a very long time, but she did disappear, right? For quite a few months. She like was basically non-existent.
She completely went off the map.
Just disappeared. So like, I think you make a really good argument. It's hard. I'm like 6'10". It's hard to say that like she's the best, but she's definitely in the conversation. I would tend to agree. Aledos, you've been quiet. Do you have any takes on this?
Yeah, I mean, I also think it depends on elo a lot, because I think like my experience, right? Kassadin players climb.
Dirty Kassadin player.
Yeah. I mean, even like what I'm really thinking about is that Syndra might be really good at specific brackets for like a lot of things. I think Syndra is a very versatile champ, works in every elo. Is she the best in every single elo for every single player? I don't think she is. I think there's going to be players and there's going to be champs that will be better at different elos. I think, for example, Emerald to Grandmaster assassins are incredibly good. And I think most of the people that I see climb through those brackets are going to be, first of Kassadin players, obviously, but
Neferi.
But also like Neferi, Echo. I even see Z players.
Katarina. I agree.
Like Katarina, like these champions will be so much better at exploiting side laning when it's done not in the most clean way possible. And I think like Syndra and what Syndra players will struggle with is that, I mean, or like less Syndra players will struggle with, but more like assassins will be enabled by, is that if you're first on waves, you're gonna have so much time. You're gonna play the game on creative mode up until literally like GM or low char. And I think and they have so much better punishing opportunities. If you know how to play side lane, how to make people spread around the map, you will have infinite picks, you will have very good fights, you will have a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, look, a final thing I want to say that I've especially seen, because I've coached hundreds, like infinite amount of Syndra players, right? And I've played infinite amount of Syndra games as well. And what I see happen, especially if you look at these elo brackets that you just mentioned, is that the Syndra player can just run mid and QE and hit every single time, because of the fact that the enemies don't understand the threat range of Syndra E. And especially post 80 stacks on Syndra E, you also slow them after hitting it with the stun. So they're like dead. It's just a kill. And what I find a lot is that if you don't feel comfortable with the side laning, you're fine. Because you can just shove a move towards it.
And you can make picks. Yeah, that's the thing. That's the giant X factor. I agree.
Yeah.
All right. Moving on. We'll get to...
Good job, Tim.
Yeah, it's a good take. It's a spicy take. When I read that, because I checked some of these takes before, I read that. I was like, I think he's...
I don't agree at all with that.
You don't agree?
Go on.
Come on.
Okay, my argument is, where are the high elo Syndra OTPs? Where are they? I don't see a single one in top 10 challenger in any region ever. Where are
Here
they?
we go.
So that's my first. Where's the evidence that a Syndra OTP can get to top 10?
Okay.
My second argument,
There's the spice.
is okay. You're right; those are Syndra strengths. But what I think we're like talking in Disneyland right now, right? Because you're thinking, okay, like, yes, my team is going to cover me. I'm going to have perfect threat assessment. I'm going to have perfect QEs. The enemy is just going to sit on top of my ball and get fucked. They're not going to dodge a single skill shot, right? But then I'm thinking, okay, well, what about the game where they have Nocturne? And they're like Nocturne Aurora, and you win the first 5 levels, and then what? You're stuck on your turret the whole game, right? Or I'm thinking of games like, what if a bunch of chaotic shit happens? Your jungler invades, and as Syndra, you haven't fully pushed the side out yet. What do? You can't adapt to that situation, right? You've got to just take the L. So I think the thing is, and I think I'm a bit biased, I've won like almost every single one of my Ari games, and I think the reason why is because Ari has that adaptability.
That's why I think I agree. I think Ari. That's why I think Ari and Zoe. I
think Ari is way better.
Ari is a more net, better high elo, but just in general, like SoloQ champion.
I think what you're saying is that in the perfect situations for Syndra, she performs 10 out of 10 in her role, right? In her class. So her front to back's a 10 out of 10. Her pick potential is like a 10 out of 10, right? Her side laning isn't bad. But then I think the reason why like Ari's better is that Ari does an 8 out of 10 in every category in the game, right? Ari can front to back at an 8 out of 10. Ari can flank at an 8 out of 10. She can side lane 8 out of 10, right? Her adaptability is an 8 out of 10, right? Her itemization is 8. You know what I mean? It's like there's not enough flexibility, in my opinion, on a Syndra to actually see results. And I have not seen a Syndra player be top 10 for like a long, like where are they? I don't see any top 10 Syndra OTPs.
Yeah, you actually got like 3 Syndra OTPs in Challenger in NA.
Yeah, I know there's Tim.
That's not top 10.
What?
That's not top 10 though.
No.
Challenger and
Tim
top
is
10
not even on there. Tim's not even on there.
On there. Okay.
No, it's like 3 of Vulture.
Okay.
But what I'm really curious of, right, is let's compare Syndra to Ari.
Like, where's the pangs of
You've played to both of those champs. What do you think?
Syndra to Ari. I would always climb with Ari. I think Syndra is great champ in SoloQ, but it's a great champ, but it's not a great champ in SoloQ, is how I phrase it. Ari is more to the direction, to what I think is actually the best champ. Ari is like, she can lane, but she can also just pick up kills and thrive on the chaos. Now, the greatest champ in SoloQ, I think, of all time is Katarina. Katarina works in low elo, where you solo kill people level 2.
Incorrect.
And there's like 5 people in high elo challenger. And before, Katarina used to lose lane, and then I didn't think it was the best champ. But nowadays, every Katarina OTP is so fucking good at their champ. They go even or kill in every lane. They scale really good with the 80 Katarina setup. They can thrive on chaos. They can thrive on slow game because they get their item spikes. I think
it is broken.
I do think Katarina, though, is an incredibly good champion.
It is.
The champion is like disgusting. I think it is a disgusting champion. Like, because okay, Katarina, though, I would agree. I think Katarina is way better than Syndra because Katarina can minimize any matchup, right? Like they can just get to their wave clear breakpoint, pop the wave, not interact. But also as well, like mechanically, there's so many ways to outplay trading patterns with the Shumpo, and they can sack waves very comfortably and rack up a kill, and like they don't feel super bad about it. It's like, all right, well, like I go down a bit, like it can be down 25 CS, and get a kill in a team fight, and be like, oh, like I feel fine.
Yeah,
like I feel like not many.
It's not just a kill. It's like 5 kills.
yeah. Well, if that happens,
it's not Katarina picking up 1 kill in a team fight. One guy, my teammate, fucks up, and then everybody's dead.
Well, but this is where I'd be careful though. Why I'd lean more towards Ari is that I think you're biased being an EU. Like I think faster regions. Like I think Katarina would be a little bit better in EU than it would in NA, in my opinion. I don't play in either of those servers, but just from what I've seen in those ELO. Like I think even though you're from EU, Tim, I actually think Syndra would probably work slightly better in an A than and Katarina. Yeah, yeah, exactly right. The super server.
In O's
Hey, don't diss the super server, mate. But yeah, that I would say that it is a little bit of a bias there, right? Halo EU challenger would be very fast. I'm assuming Katarina can always find something to do, right? Which is what surprised me, Tim. I'm surprised. I think that the fact that you've got so many results with Syndra is also a testament to how good you are at the game, Tim. I think that's also.
That's what I wanted to hear.
Thank you.
Thank you. There we go.
Set that up for that.
Next. All right, Aledos. What have we got here today? Round 2.
Round 2. Okay, this is gonna be a very hot one, and especially since you guys did the high intensity episode not too long ago. So I think people don't lose nearly as many games from low intensity as they think they do, and I see a lot of people say, I've played this game and I lost because I played bad. And I think that is just not true. People do not lose as many games from playing bad as they think they do. Not even nearly as much. And I have a story for this. I had a coaching session with Ido, the Guyana player, and he was like, yeah, Aledos, I don't know, this game, I feel like I wasn't high intensity, I didn't eat before, or I didn't do something. And then we look at the wave clear that he does, and he ease onto a minion and gets ganked and dies. And I'm like, you not eating did not die here. You know what I mean? And I think a lot of players, like especially if we put this into the extremes, right? Like if I put 610 into a bronze game, he will never ever die from a gank. Like it's impossible. It's physically not possible. Even if he is 20 hours sleep deprived, hasn't eaten anything, and is in not his best condition. And I think what happens is that a lot of players will blame low intensity for systematic mistakes that they can make still.
Okay, yeah. So Charlie said something on our last BBC episode about intensity. Said intensity is required to raise your skill ceiling, not kind of be at your skill floor. So, like, I would tend to agree. I think people use low intensity as an excuse for, like, their level of play at large. But the counter to that would be, like, you need to play with intensity to be able to push your play to the next level, right? So, this is why, though, I think you can play an okay game of League of Legends with, like, 75% intensity. And you can build a little bit of muscle memory. Are you going to revolutionize your gameplay and take your gameplay to the next level? No. But I would agree. Like, I think people are very quick to use that as an excuse when that is simply just their level of play, right? That is their level of play. That's already inbuilt in their thing. So it is a slippery slope because it can be hard for that person to be able to differentiate. And now us as coaches could probably look at it objectively and be like, well, you know what? I've seen a bunch of your gameplay. I think this is just your level of play. So, like, I would say that, like, for the user, for the person at play there, psychologically, if they know they're coming into that gameplay with max intensity, them not having that excuse is kind of important, though. You know what I mean? Like, so it's more of a so there's two benefits to intensity. There's the psychological aspects, knowing that you're not leaving anything on the table. You are giving your all, but also it can raise your skill ceiling. Sorry, so that would be like my addition to that.
Yeah, I would also like before. One more thing that I would add to this is that when you do have a low intensity game, I think those are some of the best games to review because it really shows you what are the things that will go wrong first. Because those are some of the things that the moment you are low intensity, I will, like, for example, me, if I'm low intensity, I will trade and I will have a bad reset. That's the first thing that goes wrong. And yeah, I think the moment, that's basically.
So that's a very hot take. That's fresh off the stove there. So basically what you're saying is that when you play with low intensity, those are the best to review because you see what your glaring weaknesses are. What are the first things that you need to maybe work on to shore up? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, because that shows you your skill floor and why it's your skill floor. Which you can raise by reviewing those.
And want to add on this?
I think it's a great point.
Yeah,
Like whenever I stream and I read Twitch chat and I'm not thinking at all. Like I start playing again. My insta habit is just like going in and fighting. Don't care about anything and just die. So I think it's a very good thing to understand what you can actually have to work from. Because like the thing I'm always thinking about when I play my best is just discipline. Because that's the thing I struggle with. Maybe another player is their trading patterns, and like as soon as they don't read, as soon as they lose focus, they don't trade as well. So I think it's actually a very good tip of understanding what you have to work on as a player.
I have some fascinating anecdotal experience because going into this year, this is my first year where I really can't commit to League. At least I thought I couldn't in my mind, right? I have a full-time job, 5 days in office. I coach 2 to 3 days a week. I do private coaching, right? I spend time with my girlfriend and I stream. Okay, so I'm doing all of those things, and so my intensity can't be above 60 to 70% when I play ranked. Yeah, I am the highest elo I have ever been, ever, right? My relative rank is the highest it's ever been. So to me, it's a very fascinating like experience because I wouldn't think that I would have climbed so far and pushed so high playing with like 5 hours of sleep, like yeah, and it's just very fascinating. I think what it is that even though I'm not 100% intensity, I'm coming in with less expectations and I'm more free flow, right? I'm able to just naturally play like kind of how I want to play. It's very hard to articulate, but I feel like when I'm 100% intensity, I'm trying to do so much that I'm like missing out on just intrinsic intuitive things that I'm doing nowadays when I'm at slightly lower intensity, when I'm at like 60, 70%.
Have you considered NA becoming a worst region?
That's better than EU.
That's a fair argument. I was gonna bring that up.
Yesterday, I did a high master review with like Vanguards and from NA, and the shit I saw happening in that shocked me so much that I was like, NA is cooked, dude. They're not gonna win a single game at MSI. Watch my words. They're gonna go 0-6.
I think it is a really good point though, Aledos, and I think actually the main thing that I would highlight is like the danger of even chalking things up to intensity, because I think you leave a lot of stuff on the table. Again, from my, like to match AJ's personal experience with mine, there was a time when I was an Irelia OTP, and my experience was I got insanely good at my lane phase. There was a season I averaged 1,500 gold lead at 15 minutes coming out of lane phase. That was my average. And I had this narrative about myself that because I got so far ahead, I would clock out of the game. I wouldn't think too much. I would just like lose focus. I would just, like go for stupid 1v1s in the side lane and I would die. That's how every game looked. I would stomp my lane, go into the side lane and die. And in that moment, I was desperate to find a way to like, how do I maintain intensity? How do I maintain focus coming out of the lane phase with that lead? And it became this obsession for me. And it was a self-fulfilling prophecy. And ultimately looking back now with the perspective that I have as a coach, as a much better player, my understanding of Irelia, what I realized is I just had a terrible mid game. It wasn't that I wasn't thinking, it's that I didn't know what to think. Right? Like now when I'm going into my mid game with Irelia, there's so much intention that I can have. So it's not really intensity that I was lacking, it was intention that I was lacking.
So in a way, like even if it is an intensity issue, you might as well just assume that it is your level to play anyway.
You need to
for the sake of learning anyway.
It's so dangerous to blame things
I can see
intensity.
that. Yeah, it's an interesting take. I need to think about that. Yeah, I definitely think there's something there though about like seeing yourself at your lowest intensity does kind of expose what the weakest element or your worst habit is.
Yes.
Right.
Whether
that is not like 6'10",
yes.
just going into a fight, or someone else is not looking at the mini map anymore, or another person is like just
because those are the mistakes
whatever.
you need intensity to fix.
Yeah, totally.
And when you play with intensity, like you're solving that issue.
You're solving that problem. Yeah. It's an interesting one.
Really good point.
I'm going to handball it over here to AJ.
All right, so my take, I don't know how much of a hot take you would consider this, but I think mid laners honestly have the biggest egos, especially when it comes to like junglers, right, specifically. And not to throw my girlfriend under the bus, but I have some experience because I coached her. She's in the MLA. She's an RA OTP, okay? And I would coach her, and she is the most delusional player when it comes to the junglers. I like, it's not even funny, right? It's like she expects the jungler to simultaneously gank, get every neutral objective, counter gank, invade, cover every single lane, and be ahead. And I'm like, and I'll show her a moment. I'll be like, there's no way your jungler can like do dragon right now. All of his camps up. So like what I found is like these plat, emerald, diamond mid laners, they really think it's like their jungler is like fucking them over. But in reality, I think it's the other way around. I actually think you as the mid laner, more often than not, that you're range, you are so hard fucking over your jungler. It's not even funny. Like there'll be moments where like, you know, you're playing Ahri and like you're staying on the map for one extra wave. Now you're in base, your jungler's on the map, and then he dies, and you're like, well, fuck this jungler. Why is he on dragon? Like, what an idiot.
Yeah.
Right?
I mean, if Nathan was here, he would be crowding around you, hugging you, because it's true. I mean, what we
He'd be crying.
He'd be crying, tears of joy, because I totally agree with this take. Because the amount of times I'm reviewing people's sessions, their junglers trying to like do getting ready for a rift or a dragon, and then they just piss off and roam the other side of the map.
It's disgusting.
It's crazy. And then they have the audacity to like, then their jungler gets weak in the mid game, and then they start getting angry at their jungler.
Why is my jungler so useless? Like that's a common thing I hear. It's like I got no grubs, no dragons, but yet you never lean to their side.
Or it's like, why isn't my jungler playing with me? Why aren't you playing with your jungler?
Yeah, it's the other way around.
Yeah.
Deep.
I mean,
AD carries.
You do one of those motivational things.
Really?
When it comes to junglers, yeah, you just watch 5 minutes of Crowny's stream, and you'll know exactly what I mean. No. I'm serious. AD carry players, like mid laners, have an ego. I 100% agree. Right? Mid laners are
not us though.
What did you say?
No, we're very
humble. No, absolutely.
Yeah, Six Ed's especially really humble.
Mid
Yes.
laners have an ego, but AD carries are worse. I think if there's like one role that has like that's the saddest or like the most victimized, so to say, I would say it's the AD carry role.
The main character role.
But I do feel like ADCs, like they do get fucked the hardest out of any lane. Like I mean, dead ass.
I just heard they get fucked the hardest. That's the only thing I heard.
Like, because when I play secondary ADC, and if your support is bad or your jungler doesn't cover you,
it's over.
Yeah, and their Ahri mid is gapping your like Master's Cat OTP. It's a challenge.
You have
Ahri.
no idea how many narratives you're fueling, AJ, right now.
No, but I'm being dead ass. Like if you're getting 2v4'd under your turret, what are you supposed to do as an ADC? The only option is to blame your team. You know, like that's how it can feel when you play.
You heard it here first. The only option is to blame.
Wait. I need to take this back then. Because when we talked about flaming being good, you actually disagreed. Are you retracting that point now?
I'm joking. Obviously.
The only option you have is to flame. That's what I heard.
Flame and flame.
All right, we're going to handball it now quickly over to 610 for round 2.
Okay, so I kind of touched on my point before. But I would say my second point is that control mages are terrible to climb with SoloQ. And so the main argument I have is the control mages are very good in a structured game. But especially in every elo, they all gank. They're like always random shit going on. That's why I think like the melee assassin champs are a lot better. Also, I think the melee assassin champs are better to like... they're more skill expressive, the champ specific. Meanwhile, the main champs, you need to be really good at the game to climb. Which is a harder process, you know? You need to learn like a lot more jungle tracking. You need to learn a lot more playing around the teammates. But take a champ like Katarina, like Kassadin, like Echo. Those champs can function very isolated. So it's a lot easier to climb with those champs.
But my argument would be the inverse should be true too. That should mean that if you play an Emerald Echo is going to punish an Ahri way less than a challenger would punish a challenger Ahri, right? If they get the opportunity to do so, right? Because I see so many situations, right, where there's an Emerald game and like Echo's 3-0 and Ori's like 0-1 or whatever, and the game stalls for 35 minutes, and there's one big team fight on mid, and then the control mage player wins like the fight, and then they win the game, right? Because the Echo player doesn't know how to end the game. They don't know how to snowball their lead effectively. They can't close out games.
But that might be the reality of it, but like in practice. But I think the point is more like of what is possible for a champion like Echo to do. That in a solo queue setting, that Echo player has a lot of things that they can work on to have more impact in the game.
But more option doesn't necessarily mean better to climb, because his argument was better to climb, right? Like,
because you
think of like a Yone, right? I'm very passionate about Yone. Yone has like infinite options. I think we can all agree. There's infinite skill expression. Those options paralyze people because there's too many things you can pick from and work from. I think it's honestly better to climb with if you're only given 3 options, right? Like take the art analogy, right? If you take a blank canvas and you tell someone just paint something, they're going to be stun locked there for like hours. But if you give them, hey, you have 30 minutes to paint and you have to draw something starting with a circle, people are gonna like go like that, and they're gonna try their best to figure it out, right? So that's my argument. Is like more options doesn't innately mean, especially if you're lower elo, that your champion, like you're going to climb more effectively. I actually think it's the reverse. I actually think the more options you have, the more stun locked you're going to be, and the more overwhelmed you're going to feel.
I think there's a
Average
difference
play. Yes.
between like if there's a difference between having options and having a variety of options though as well. Because let's say I play a lot of Ari and Orianna, and if I compare those two, there are way more times in a game of League of Legends where I don't have any option on a champion like Orianna compared to Ari, where like sure there are more options, but I'll always have an option of something that I can do in that game.
Yeah, but what I would say is that because you have fewer options as Ori, you have to work on the options you have harder, right? So like, let's say as Ori, right? You have less options in the game, right? Let's say you play against high threat jungle, Nocturne, and like a Nautilus, and your mid has no prio. That would signal to me I need to get way better at my first 15 minutes. But think about like Yone players in that situation. He doesn't know what the fuck to work on.
Yeah, let's just use a practical example. If we get to mid game, right? Are we more scared of like what's going to get more results? A mid game Vigar in Platinum 4 or a mid game Yone at Platinum 4?
Vigar's I'm close.
Vigar's not even close.
Well, yes, but
I mean, I don't think Yone is a good example of a champion that's good.
I agree with that as well.
What would you
Yone
say?
is way too weak. I think Yone is way too weak early game. Yone does not roam. Yone does not capitalize on skirmishes like
Okay,
You said that
like that.
earlier.
But I'm talking
Well,
about
what assassin?
say?
Using an example.
Roaming was bad.
Rome equals bad.
no, I'm saying picking up kills in
What
that
happened to Rome
skirmishes.
equals
It's like-
bad?
No.
Okay.
Okay, so in my roaming opportunity, what I didn't explain is I think roaming to side lanes is terrible, but roaming to jungle skirmishes is really good. That's how I
So
think about
name a
it.
champ that you
And
think is
a champ like Akshan, like Katarina, Echo, Zed, all
Zed?
those champs can really capitalize. when
Nah,
they-
Zed and
nah,
Kali,
nah,
no
nah,
way,
nah.
man.
Maybe not
No
Zed,
way,
maybe not
Zed and
Zed.
Kali. No way.
But like Katarina, Akshan, Echo, for example.
Not even Akshan.
Afiri. All of those
Akshan,
champs.
Akshan in
Hard.
Platinum is going to lose if we have. Let's run 100. Let's have 100 simulations, right? Akshan, and then a mage. The mages are going to win. 85, 90% of the time.
But
I
think-
disagree. I disagree.
I
so
think the
hard.
reality
I
is
disagree.
I don't think we're actually discussing 610's actual take, which is it's not necessarily about the difficulty of playing Akshan at a platinum level. It's about about like what is possible on Akshan versus Vigar.
Okay, so this is where it gets into, okay, if we're smurfing, if 600 is smurfing, right, and you had to make you needed $1 million and you had to smurf account from Iron 4 to Challenger, what champion would you do it with? Right? And so you're saying that, okay, well, no shit, you're going to try and pick an assassin that can snowball and get the ball rolling because you not only can get more kills and have more productivity, but in mid-game you can snowball the game easier. We can all agree that that makes sense, right? And that argument, if you're a very good player, that makes sense because you know how to exhaust all those options.
But that's also not practical because if somebody came to me and said, "What is easier to learn, Ari or Orianna?" I would say Ari without a doubt.
Yeah, but
and Ari is a way easier solo.
Let's talk again. Let's take Kassadin, right? A Kassadin Smurf is probably could be potentially one of the most effective ways to Smurf up there, right? I mean, definitely, let's say it's top 10 in the conversation to Smurf to Challenger, right? Or like high elo.
Sure.
Now, again, we've seen many people plateau on Kassadin in gold or in platinum and struggle for a long time because it's difficult to know what to do with those options in mid game and how to take control and ping shit off and say no to fights. And even when it is your time to fight, like how do you approach that fight? So like, again, 610, I agree with your take. I do think assassins in general have more proactivity. They have more options in the mid game, and that allows you to win probably a wider sample size of games. But the actual practical nuts and bolts of that reality, it's like most people won't be able to use that skill set. It's like the average platinum player won't know that. Can't use it.
I think I missed represent my question a bit because what I wrote down is control mages are shit to climb in higher elo. I can agree with like emerald, platinum, whatever, maybe low diamond. But I think like if you're gonna like one trick a champ, I think it's a lot easier to one trick the assassin champs that can pick up chaotic games than the mages, like a team does with Syndra. Team can do that because he's an amazing player. But and then, like same with me when I played Orianna, not the one trick. I could pick it up, because I have a lot of game fundamentals. But if you don't have that, I'm saying for higher relos, once you get a lot of champ mastery in a champ, I think it's a lot more valuable picking up in something like Akshan, Katarina, Echo.
So when you say high elo, what elo range are you talking about? What's the starting point?
9.1 low master plus. If you're gonna start playing at that's where I think high elo begins.
This is just so fascinating to me because, like, again, I think we have to. It's so hard to generalize here, in my opinion, because Fizz is an assassin, right?
This is like a season 4.
My point. That's my
Oompa Loompa Westdorf of Aegis.
Case in point, right? Like, my point being is that there are shit assassins like Talon mid and Fizz mid.
Yone mid.
My point being,
get started with Yone. I could go for an hour. I could take off the rest of the time.
We're not even going to open that can of worms. But my point being is that, like, yes, those specific archetype, you've got like super chaotic, like champs that can play the map or whatever. Like, I agree, but at that point, that's just like, you might as well just say Katarina. What is it? 3 champions like Katarina. What?
Ari. I think Ari is in that pool too.
Ari's on.
I said control mages. I said control mages are shit to climb with.
I think this conversation became like mage, right? Control mages versus assassins. But I think it's more just like, if your champion has an element of playmaking and can be proactive. Yeah,
proactivity.
In the game, it is objectively and maybe. That's again where there are kind of two conversations here with like what is optimal versus what is practical for, let's say, like a silver player to reach D4 or silver player to actually climb in SoloQ. What's their experience going to be? It's not just like, okay, if you pick up Akshan, you're going to have a way easier time than if you play.
Well, think about Dopa, right? One of the great, like, think about how long he climbed to challenge with arguably one of the greatest OG SoloQ players of all time, Orianna TF. Right, he played for the most part.
Kassadin too.
Most of his LP, though, if you look at his LP, he played mainly Orianna TF, though. Right, he was mainly.
In my argument, that is a great player already. He could probably do the most champs.
Right, sure.
What I'm saying is, like, it's just way easier doing it on like champ master and like a more assassin-y Ari kind of champ, capitalizing champ than a waiting, scaling, letting the team coming to you kind of champ. Yeah. That's my argument.
Just given different perspectives. Yeah, it's a tough one. Does anyone have any other comments on this one before we palm it off? No? Okay. Lucas?
I don't know if this is going to be a hot take here, but this is, in my experience, talking with the average SoloQ player, my clients, some of the people that I've seen kind of, like a bit lower elo. They think that objectives are like the be-all, end-all of the game. And they, like, for example, they get really mad when their junglers are not contesting the objectives or like their team's not there. I think taking an objective in a bad position or when it's not good for your team is insanely terrible to do. I think it just creates a decisive moment in the game. The game is going to get decided in that fight. You want to make sure you're in a good position to take that fight. So I would much rather, trade off an objective if it's not that great. Make sure that I'm in a really decisive position for the next objective. What are your thoughts?
I mean, I totally agree with you. I think what it comes down to, though, is a lack of understanding that, like, I feel like everything in League is an objective due to the nature of opportunity costs, right? Like, let's take Second Dragon. I'm just going to throw an arbitrary example. Let's say you're playing Ari as Second Dragon, right? And there's a stacking top wave going to your tier 2 turret. So your options are contest Dragon or take those 3 top waves, start pushing out the next top wave, put some pressure on top, right? A lot of people up until like maybe masters, even master players might see that and be like, oh, well, obviously the dragon's the objective. But I view it as, well, no, actually these 3 waves is an objective in itself because it's resources, right? It's something on the map for you to take. You start to apply some pressure on the map. So I think it's this lack of like people think of objectives, I think this like beautiful, sexy, like Barons, Soul, Otacon, Towers. But in my opinion, objectives can really be anything that gives you resources on the map that has some sort of opportunity cost. So you have to give something else up in order to take that.
Yeah, I mean, I also wanted to put this hot take as well until I was told that, I actually view objectives as a way to create a good fight for you. And I also view waves as a big objective. Like, whenever I'm choosing between mid-wave or the objective, I do mid-wave first because I need to have my wave done before the objective. And I think especially as the game goes on, this kind of shifts towards the objective gets more valuable, right? Like first Drake and the grubs are like not as valuable. Like you just want to be strong, but like Baron is very valuable, and also Soul is very valuable. Elder is insanely valuable. So at that point, you might actually go for the objective over a wave. But I totally agree that I think people will sacrifice themselves and sacrifice their waves and sacrifice their position for an objective fight that they don't actually want. And
what I want to add to that.
Before, I think one of the things that people don't realize is that objectives are really valuable if you're just watching the enemy take it. Because now you don't get anything for that objective. But if you're very mindfully make a decision on, do I want to fight on the objective? Or do I want to trade the objective and actually trade the objective off for the waves on the other side or the enemy jungle camps or something else? Now suddenly the difference between you taking the objective or not is like very, very, very close. And at that point, you can make yourself stronger for an objective that you actually want, that you actually spike for, that you're actually strong for.
That's a really smart take, Aledos, actually, because think about it. The average player experience, they're not trading off neutral objectives intentionally, right? They're watching someone get it. And so, yes, objectively, the objective is very valuable because you're not getting anything for it. So it's value, it's relative to what you would have otherwise done. The moment you start trading off neutral objectives for that, as AJ saying, that 3 waves on top side, then all of a sudden the relative equation
and
is
that's also
changed.
when you have to take into account that a fight at an objective is incredibly game deciding. Giving a second Drake isn't going to decide the game. But if you take a fight at second Drake and you lose, that can really snowball into being a very hard game, especially when it's not relatively that much better.
And I would even say Barons. I don't know about you guys, but like I've won so many games just giving.
Well,
first
the
Baron.
season 16 Baron, especially.
Season 16 Baron, like what do you guys think?
Much worse.
Yeah,
I think where objectives come from is like it's from an emotional viewpoint, because even myself sometimes, if I'm not 100% intensity, I'll start to feel panicky if they take their dragon, right?
Yeah.
I'll start to feel it inside. Like it's not even a conscious thought. It's like you feel like you're on a timer.
People just don't want to lose things as well.
You don't want to lose things, yeah. And it's like you feel like, oh, like if they get Soul, they win the game. But in reality, like Soul is a high win rate, but that's accounting for as well as people taking shit fights, right? Like I think like Ocean Soul's like 80% win rate, which means even if the worst,
that's kind of low, honestly.
Like, exactly. That means the worst case scenario in your game, you're still winning 20% of the games when they have.
That's pretty good odds, honestly.
Those are good odds.
Yeah, and those and again, that's factoring people who are probably inting their ass off fighting for Soul. So imagine if you just give the Soul and you chill and you trade something, like you get an objective bounty tier 2 top, 1,000 gold, right? You get your Rabadons on your Azir, you win one fight and the game through mid. Like, I don't know if you guys watched LCK, DK versus KT. DK had Soul on game 4 and 5, and they lost both games with Soul. They were up like
that's a 20%.
Yeah, that's a 20%. So you can see it because the enemy team in a controlled environment, they're not panicking and forcefully contesting. Even Soul, they're like, okay, I'm going to set a Baron control, push out mid, push out top, and we'll be there for Elder fight. And then they won both games.
And if you're 610 the OTB Echo, like imagine you're 610 the OTB
what are you going to do with that 1K
not 20%,
gold?
that's 50%.
Yeah, what are you going to do with that 1K gold as well?
610 is just going to steal it with Echo, like Echo one-shots the objectives.
Any other champ too. Like Oriana put me on it. Like doesn't matter.
The Echo. I'm talking about
I'm actually better
the 610 Echo.
Going too far there with the Ori.
But I was also going to say, do you think the SK players are like 20% win rate when they have when the enemy team gets Soul? Like they know they can get it, they can still win.
Yep.
That's never mind.
All right.
Yeah, like they're talking about in chat, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm going to start.
Yeah.
I'm going to start typing that in chat. 20% win rate, guys. We can still win. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Can win.
Imagine
the crux is there though, as Aledos said, is like trading it off. If you're not fighting Drake, there needs to be a conscious decision there. We're going for Drake or we're getting something on the other side of the map.
But
yeah.
All right. Well, I think we'll wrap that one up for today. We had some spicy takes.
Very spicy takes.
Bit too spicy here and there, but that's okay.
Take, do you think?
I think Aledos 1v9 one was pretty gnarly.
That was gnarly.
The flaming was great.
The flaming one. Syndra being the best SoloQ champ as well was pretty out to lunch. She's.
I think the most outrageous one was calling me.
That's very outrageous.
I think that's the coldest take. I'm not gonna lie.
I think I can literally find the VOD of you saying that in your stream yesterday. I can literally find it.
It's probably
Delete the VOD.
Hi, Devin.
Someone find it in the comments. We'll pin it as the top post. All right, guys. Well, thanks for your time. It went a little bit longer than we thought. Otherwise, we'll drop some socials in the description from you guys stream. Got a lot of you guys stream, have your own YouTube channels. Otherwise, we'll wrap it up for today. And thanks for tuning in. And we'll do hopefully some more of these roundtables in the future. Catch you guys.
See you guys.
Yeah.